welcome. This is Sunrise, and I am Alero Edu.
I'm Ayamakinde. Good morning and welcome. We're counting down to the elections. Another 2 Saturdays from now. By this time, upper Saturday, you will be voting. Oh, but this is 9 o'clock.
And we shall be voting thereafter.
And we shall be voting thereafter.
Benny, when we finish work.
If we finish.
And when we finish, telling them what is happening all over Nigeria, how elections are going, how people are...
No, my schedule that day, I don't even know yet.
Your schedule on Saturday?
Yes, it's 9 o'clock.
Yeah, Benny, and you don't finish till 12, then you can go and vote.
Okay, now voting stops at about
2:30 or something. Yes.
Okay, good. That will be my first time of voting.
Well,
so I'm a first-time voter.
Oludu.
Democracy. I miss Teju Babyface.
I voted for the first time in 1993.
And how many times have you voted since?
I have voted twice since then. In 1993, I listened to the debate on TV between Abiola and Bashir Tofa. And I decided it was well worth the trouble, because that was option A4. You had to go and stand on the queue and you were counted, And I thought it's well worth it. Only for me to vote, and then it was cancelled, of course. And then I decided, well, what are you going to queue out there to vote for? They're going to do all kinds of things and cancel it and this and that.
But it's going to be different this time.
So I kept quiet for a long time until 2011. And I went out to vote again. And I voted in 15. And I'm going to vote in 2 weeks' time.
But you didn't vote in 2019?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I'm going to vote in 2 weeks' time.
So if you've not made up your mind, by the way, there is a selection of people who, according to INEC, are perennial non-voters.
I'm sure many of them will vote this time.
Oh, really?
Because they have seen the demonstration of the beavers, and they have seen the iRev and everything, how everything is being uploaded, and they can follow it real time. So ain't no fiddling, guys.
All right. So I guess that gives us some. There are many reasons to vote, to make up your mind to vote this time. One of them is this Naira thing, right?
You had to, well, if we didn't talk about the Naira, what else would we talk about? I mean, this Naira thing, like they say in Yoruba, is becoming more than be careful. I heard Robbie Clark, SAN, say yesterday that he needed 100,000 and he had to pay 125,000 for it. And there's a post of a lady on social media. Oh, that was heart-wrenching. She was screaming and she was crying, how she wanted just 5,000 Naira so she could feed her child. And she had to pay a commission of 2,000 on it. So she had to pay 7 to get 5.
Well, you of course saw the interview we had with Segun Sopitan earlier in the week. And I asked him a pointed question. If we are complaining about our leaders today, and Nigerians, I mean, it is not part of the Naira redesign policy, for instance, that people should charge so exorbitantly for people to change money. So if people are taking advantage of a bad situation such as we have on our hands now, what's to say that if these set of people find themselves in positions of authority that we are complaining about now, they would not do the same? He didn't bat an eyelid before telling me they would.
But the thing is, the POS guy who's charging you that kind of commission, have you thought about how much he or she paid to get the money?
Or is making? It's a two-way street.
I can promise you she did not get that money without paying the premium.
That's a possibility, because clearly we haven't seen his or her results, his or her
books.
books or receipts or whatever it is. Another set of people that you want to find out how they get that cash.
Those at parties.
Are the ones at parties. By the way, I don't know if you saw that video of people printing their own Naira just to find something to spray. Yes, now, if you cannot get the original, I will put your face, Alera's face on the Naira and spray.
Ouch.
Anyway.
But that's ingenious.
Well, but you know, this is getting a little more and more. So one of the questions on my mind, playing in my head is, so is the old Naira note still valid today, Saturday, February 11th?
If we're to go by the Supreme Court ruling, yes.
Good. That is the Supreme Court ruling. The Supreme Court is not the one that certifies legal tender in the country. The CBN has not made a pronouncement to the best of my knowledge. Maybe they have and I don't know.
No, they haven't. But they haven't. But the CBN comes out today and says we don't have the capacity.
No, they don't have. It's not the CBN that is printing. It's the Nigeria Security Printing and Minting Company.
Okay.
He said they are the ones that do not have the capacity. That they said they have run out of paper. And that they're supposed to, what's the word again? Placed an order from abroad to get the papers, but they have been placed on a long waiting list. So essentially, dear CBN, what are you saying?
So CBN, you're telling us that you actually went ahead and put this policy in place, but you were not ready. You did not have the wherewithal at the back end to deal with the people's requirements. So, please tell me, why did you start something you could not finish?
Well, maybe another angle
now you
to
put
that.
The whole country in a mess. People can't even afford to eat.
What's worse about that is I read a report from the Nigerian News Direct yesterday, where a CBN deputy governor said that they didn't anticipate the behavioral problems or, you know, the behavioral responses.
What behavioral responses?
We just spoke with about a few of them.
People going to the ATM to collect money that they have put in the bank.
And that they couldn't collect.
Yeah.
And the POS charges, they didn't preempt that one. They didn't anticipate that one. They didn't anticipate that people were going to be charging. They didn't anticipate hoarding. They didn't anticipate all kinds of things.
Ayo. It is not rocket science that when there is demand for money and you don't put enough money in circulation, all kinds of practices are going to happen, including POS people charging huge commissions, including POSs that, who was making the analysis yesterday? It was Bismarck Rewane. POSs that used to have, ATM that used to have like 6 people, now have about 100 people queuing in front of them.
Another angle to that, I read an argument proffered by someone on Facebook that CBN mopped up like 2-point-something trillion cash back into its vaults, but has, as at that time of the writing, had only released about 300 billion naira of the new notes into circulation.
Why?
So one of the questions that I keep asking is, okay, so we've been hearing all these conversations from the CBN. How much have you withdrawn from circulation? How much have you pumped back into circulation? If those answers are not asked, well, it's a lot of problems that's going to come. And don't forget that people have put all of their old notes into the bank. Do the banks have authority to release those cash back? That information, because there is a lot of confusion. Of course, we know what the Council of State says. Print more or let the old Naira notes circulate. We need to hear the CBN, at least read a release from the CBN saying, this is what we ought to do now. Otherwise, clearly the confusion persists. I don't know how much it's going to cost the banks to replace their ATMs that have been destroyed in various parts of the country.
Unfortunately, for me, the very thing that the central bank governor is talking about that he wants to prevent is exactly what he's going to get. Because like that chap, for instance, who stripped himself naked in the bank, I mean, when he finally gets his money out of the bank,
he's not taking it back.
You're sure, I mean, I can bet my bottom money, my bottom, is it dollar or bottom naira, that he's going to close his bank account. And many more are going to do the same, because when you needed that money, you couldn't access it.
As we speak, one of the things that I read from that report in Nigerian Newsrec yesterday was that the CBN deputy governor was saying that the normal order of things is to collect the cash and put it in circulation until it finds its way back into the bank. Now, you collect the cash, you keep it, and you continue to do transfer.
I mean, I have been announcing that I'm the proud owner of 10,000 naira.
New notes, please.
New notes, which I queued almost 1 hour to collect.
Mr. Femi Adesina,
twice.
One of the president's aides, said he's been spending 20,000 naira for about 2 weeks. Is it 2 weeks or a month, he said? So
we've all learned to be frugal. So I took my 10,000 naira 3 days ago. I still have 10,000 naira. I've not spent a penny out of it.
Well, would the CBN call it frugal or hoarding?
Because I know I don't know when I'm going to get the next one. So I might as well be careful with the one that I have.
Reminds me of a funny part where a banker friend of mine says he struggled to get some money because even the bankers do not have the cash. And you said they had to queue themselves. So she struggled to get 20 or 30,000 naira of the brand new notes to give to her mom. Next thing, mommy packs 30,000 naira and gives to a maid to go and buy something in the market.
Mommy, 5,000, you will buy small these days. Small, you will buy you. But there's no money anywhere.
Another thing that people are spending money on, or supposed to spend money on, is fuel. Do we even get the fuel? Now, okay, well, thankfully, the intervention of the NNPCL.
He waved a magic wand, and the queues are actually disappearing. So how did he do it? We'll talk about that in the body of the program.
Okay.
And while we're at it, let's just go to the menu. First of all, of course, not surprisingly, we're looking at the Naira redesign policy.
We will also segue into politics, but this time specifically talking about women in politics.
Every election cycle, we talk about that, and we talk about how to encourage more women to come into politics. We find ourselves there yet again. Okay, after the women who are in politics or who are trying to go into politics and cannot find any inroad, we'll look at fuel scarcity situation.
And then there's this one that we'll also talk about. It's about your musculoskeletal health.
Oh dear.
What does that mean? It talks about your Okay, well, we'll get into that later on.
Muscly. You're muscly. And then, as is usual, we shall close with the Artist of the Week segment. And I promise you that you're going to have a good laugh with us this morning. Make sure you stay till the end of sunrise.
Is it a he or a she or a...
Is it he?
And?
I'm not going to...
What? I'm just asking. Is he a musician? We'll be back after that. Please grab your cup of cocoa.
Oh, cocoa.
We'll be back.
The story remains the same, as many bank customers are still having a hard time receiving the local currency in cash as they grapple with the scarcity of both the old and the new notes.
All the money many people are spending now is still the old notes, and what I have with me right here is even the old notes. And the fact that I got the old notes, it took me it gave me a very strong challenge.
So people prefer to be using old notes in substitute of the new notes. Because why? I cannot just go down to the bread seller to buy something without having a new note with me. And if I have old note with me, they will prefer to take it because there is scarcity of the new note.
We visit some banks in the Ikeja business district, and while some of the well-known commercial banks had no supply of the Naira notes, a few of the new generation banks were able to meet the financial needs of some desperate customers. When asked about the recent judgment by the Supreme Court ordering a halt to the deadline pending the hearing of a suit brought before it by 3 state governors, some bank customers expressed mixed reactions.
It's good. To me, I feel this is some level of concern from the government or the people who have gone to the court to seek for an injunction to reduce the stress the common man is going through right now.
I heard the news this morning that they've extended to February 15. And about the new old notes, that old note, people have contributed all their money at the bank. Even in the market, you cannot, those market people are not collecting old notes again because no transfer. POS, they are collecting 2,000 for 10,000. It's not possible now.
There is no doubt that the acute shortage of cash to bank customers has created uncertainty across Nigeria's financial system for several weeks now. They are appealing to the federal government and the central bank to alleviate their plight by ensuring adequate supply of the new Naira notes.
Thank you for joining us. That report is, I don't even know how to describe it, but it just tells you what is happening, and it's happening all over the country.
And it doesn't discriminate your status.
At all.
I mentioned Mr. Femi Adesina the other time. Says it's not 2 weeks, 1 week. That where he started with 6,000, and when he shrunk to 2,005, he became gentle. In 1 week, became gentle.
You have to. Once you have some of these new currency with you, you are very frugal how you spend it because you don't know how and when you're going to get the next lot. And the next lot, you may just be at an ATM that you don't have the ATM belonging to a bank which is not your bank, and you're not allowed to take more than 2,000 naira. And what I ask is, what am I supposed to do with 2,000 naira? I get on this queue just to collect 2,000 naira?
In Lagos.
That's the way it is. So the current scarcity of notes is taking its toll across the country, and people continue to vent their anger regarding the impact of this policy, or should I even say the non-impact of it. The National Council of States 2 days ago, yes, has asked the central bank to print more notes or recirculate the old notes. But of course, the Security and Printing
and Minting Company
have come out and said that they do not have the capacity to print notes to the quantity that is required by Nigerians. So why did the CBN embark on a policy which it could not see through? And why did the Supreme Court rule 2 days ago that the CBN cannot stick to the deadline of the 10th of February? Well, we have 2 lawyers in the House who will help us look at that particular aspect of the matter. But one of them had pulled out something from his pocket and said to us that he'd been carrying that bunch of money around for the last 2 weeks.
It's not up to 10,000.
So,
when you said bunch, I was wondering.
Well, in light of things happening to Nigerians now, it is a bunch because it is more than 5. And don't forget that some ATMs only allow you 2,000. So if you have more than 2,000, like I said to you this morning, with my 10, don't talk to me anyhow.
Yes, Mommy, I'm humble.
Our 2 legal practitioners, Mr. Monday Ubani, good morning.
Dr. Monday Ubani.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I apologize.
It's a long time I saw her. My status has changed.
Okay. Hey.
Including the new Naira notes.
That will allow you to collect more money from the ATM, don't worry. We also have Mr. GT Ogunye with us. Good morning. Thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much.
My apologies. Just to be clear to Nigerians, because there are those who are wondering what's the position of Nigeria now. It's someone said that the Supreme Court is not just a court of law, it's also a court of policy. Based on what the CBN said, Mr. Ogunye, and the fact that the Supreme Court does not issue legal tender, it's the CBN that does that. The Supreme Court has made a pronouncement. The CBN has not made a pronouncement to the effect. The federal government, through the AGF, has said they will comply with it, but we do not have any information from the CBN yet. Can people spend their old Naira notes today, February 11?
Unequivocally, I will answer that question in the affirmative. Nigerians can, and indeed here, speaking very responsibly, I will encourage them to continue to spend the notes. I won't even call them the old notes.
Okay.
The notes.
Okay.
Because if by yesterday they were destined to become old notes, by the pronouncement of the Supreme Court, life has been breathed into those dying notes, and therefore they become
alive again.
Okay. So they can do that. Section 287 of the Constitution says that the decision of the Supreme Court is binding on all authorities and persons. The CBN was not a party to the matter. The AGF was a party, and the AGF has said that they will comply. In any case, it's not open to him, regardless of how preeminent vis-a-vis the other ministers his position is as the AGF, whose office specifically, unlike the other ministers, is created by the Constitution, Section 150, vested with power under Section 174. Regardless of the preeminence, the AGF is not an appellate authority over the Supreme Court. So it's not open to him to debate whether he's going to obey a decision of the Supreme Court or not. Once that pronouncement is made by the court, all parties.
Okay. Dr. Bani, Mr. Ogunye says that we can spend that money.
Yes.
But you well know that there's hardly any market woman in this country who's going to collect that money from you. So where does that leave us with that ruling?
That's why we need education, and that's why you brought us here. The position is that the Supreme Court, through an interim order, asks that the status quo be maintained until the matter is resolved on the 15th. That is on Wednesday, when there will be hearing on the motion on notice that was filed by the 3 states. It's an interim order. Okay. And so everyone is bound to obey. He said it. The Supreme Court decision is binding on all authorities. All. Whether Central Bank was a party to it is of no consequence. It's a federal government policy in which 3 states felt aggrieved, and they rushed to court with affidavit of urgency. Oh, my citizens will be involved. They will suffer irreparable damage if we don't do anything. So without putting the other people on notice, it was an ex parte order, maintain order, until we hear the motion on notice. So every person is bound to still keep on collecting the old notes until the Supreme Court rules otherwise. It's only Supreme Court that has given life to that decision to end the old note yesterday. So we have to wait until the Supreme Court has the final say. And I tell you, this is going to be legal firework on Wednesday, because the Attorney General has filed what we call preliminary objection, challenging the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, whether it has authority in the first place to assume jurisdiction over a matter that ought to. So it's going to be, if I have money, I want to be in Supreme Court on Wednesday. I will travel from Lagos to be in Abuja. It's going to be interesting.
But you know, that also raises another issue.
Yes.
Why is the what would be the basis, at least for as at this point we have a position of law, yes, right? So there are those who argue that the CBN, well, the Supreme Court does not have jurisdiction over any case that involves the CBN,
Yes.
but has jurisdiction over issues that concern the federal and state governments. So, on that basis, is that a direct or indirect affiliation of that case to something that is...
Let me say this. In any time you will file a matter and there is issue of jurisdiction, which is a threshold issue, it is the same court, that court, that will determine whether it has jurisdiction. I don't know whether I've made myself clear. Nobody outside the court will now begin to say, oh, Supreme Court does not have jurisdiction. No. Let Supreme Court decide that it has no jurisdiction. So let people, central bank shouldn't be a party, and because it's supposed to be a party, wasn't there, the court has no. No, it's not for you to decide. It's going to be an issue that the Supreme Court will sit down, look at all the environment of all the parties, look at the authorities, look at decided cases, precedent that has been established, whether it has jurisdiction. It is when the Supreme Court says it has or it has not, we can now say so. For us now, nobody should speculate. Supreme Court has, you can put all the laws, but Supreme Court will decide whether it has, and that is on Wednesday.
Mr. Okoye, did this suit go through the process it was supposed to go through before reaching the Supreme Court?
Now, the suit was filed, and more have been filed, by the way.
On the same issue?
Yes.
River State,
Kano
State, Ondo State, and more states may join. Was filed, the original one, under the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has two principal jurisdictions. One, original, the second, appellate, in which case cases will snake their way from the High Court through the Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court. But under the original jurisdiction of the court, states will go to the Supreme Court directly, or the federal government, if there is a dispute. And what that section says is that if there is a dispute between the federal government and the states, or amongst the states, a dispute that insofar as the dispute involved is concerned, involves question of law or fact, that the existence or extent of a legal right is being canvassed. A legal right, any legal right. So it's a broad jurisdiction. And so what the states have done is to say, look, as is explained, this currency swap policy is ongoing and the deadline has been fixed. People still have this money. They don't have access to banks. They cannot change this money. They will be ruined by this policy. And so, save us. And the Supreme Court intervene in the interim. Now, a lot of people outside have said, lawyers, some of them lawyers, have said that the Supreme Court lacks jurisdiction. The matter should have been commenced at the Federal High Court. The CBN is not a party to the action. The CBN has been sued and all that. I'm not sure they are reading their law very well, those who are saying that. Look, you can criticize judgments of the courts, but it is wrong to assume that the justices of the Supreme Court are not abreast with the law. A court has the power to even raise the issue of jurisdiction so motu. So it is not you, an outsider, that will tell them that they don't have jurisdiction. If they knew that they had no jurisdiction, even before the other party will raise it, they will raise it first and say, no, satisfy us on the issue of jurisdiction. They've not done so, and they've intervened. And in any case, if you look at the CBN Act, in spite of the statutory fiction of absolute independence being parroted by people outside, particularly because Section 1, subsection 3, and because Section 17, that says that it has the sole authority to issue currency and legal tender. The CBN is an agency of the federal government. The board under Section 6 is constituted by the federal government. The governor is appointed by the president. Deputy governors, all the officers are appointed by the president. Even on the issue of currency, if you look at provision of Section 17, 18 and 19 in designing, first, after agreeing that they want to change currency, the president will have to approve of it, including the design. If the president does not approve of it, it doesn't get done. So in essence, the power that is being challenged includes the power of the president to approve a change and to fix a time as provided by Section 20, which the statute says must be reasonable, meaning that the state can go to court and just raise a limited issue. In the circumstances, the time of 1 month, was it reasonable? Based on the facts. Just on the reasonableness.
It was more than 1 month.
Reasonableness of administrative action. In administrative law, they can go there. And so when people just stay outside and in a jumpy manner start talking and pontificating about, oh, they don't have jurisdiction. If this, look, that interim order came on a platter of gold. Because it was a fiasco. It was a mess. People can't have money. I can't access my money. Our office cannot access our money. People are trading in Naira in a lifetime when there is no war. People are rationing currency as if we are rationing food in a war situation. It's very terrible. It is because of our disposition to permit all sorts of egregious acts in the name of statecraft. The banks that are being burned now, who's going to indemnify them? The banks that are being set up, who are scaling the fence, who's going to reassure them?
Yeah.
Okay? And look at the crisis that we've had. You know, the burning and looting, and we hope that it will not continue any longer. So it was a fiasco. And now they are saying they don't have papers. Who sets an examination question and says that, look, there are no enough question paper for you to what are they saying? And I know from the moment they started prevaricating and not talking to Nigerians in a transparent manner, that this is a question of lack of capacity. Yeah, the president approved of it. He's a patriot. He wanted it to be printed in Nigeria. In time past, they were printing it overseas. They didn't tell him that they didn't have capacity. They misled him. He had a duty, though, to ask questions because he inherited the CBN governor. And he tolerated him, his excesses. All the things that the CBN governor should not be doing, the CBN governor has done it under his watch.
And he's got
so he's his own CBN governor. You should own him. So the point is that he should ask questions. He didn't ask questions. Now they are telling us, you know, we have no papers.
So what do we do? We will not get money for how long? How many months?
And to the order of the Supreme Court for salvation. Don't even go there and challenge any jurisdiction. Say, thank them very well for making you not to lose face.
Okay.
And then extend it into 6 months.
Well, Dr. Obadi, so on the one hand, the position of the Supreme Court is there, and you've said that right now, as at this morning, we do not have any note that is invalid.
That's right.
Every note we have is legal tender as at this very day.
I agree with you.
But then, what do you make of the position of the Council of State on this? I don't know if the decision of the Supreme Court was in consideration when the Council of State met and said, advise the federal government to print more notes or let the old Naira notes remain in circulation.
That's advisory. That's what the council does. Anything they do is advisory. As I said earlier, the position of things as it stands today is that the old currency and the new currency are valid. Nobody changes that until the Supreme Court, says otherwise. My brother has gone further. And of course, you can see his anger, and everyone is very angry. Nigerians are not smiling.
No.
With the situation of things, and people think that even the Supreme Court justices are not human beings. And I'm sure those judges, you know, we didn't have access to money too.
They didn't have money.
they didn't have money too, so they don't live in the moon, you know, so they're all human beings. So they saw that as is really a big problem. But if something is not done in the interim, in order to ease the confusion that was actually brewing.
Speak to the issues that he raised about indemnifying the quantum of destruction that has gone ahead.
Yeah.
ATMs have been destroyed in various parts of the country.
That's right.
There's been a lot of riots, protests.
And they were set up,
you know, here and there, all over the place, all over Nigeria. Now, what should be the position of the law on that? Who should be doing what? He spoke about those bankers scaling the fence of their office. The bankers that have been attacked. I don't know if you saw that video.
I saw the viral video of a lady.
That was attacked
really
simply because she was a banker in a particular bank. In fact, a number of banks have said, look, we will only open our branches where it is safe to do so. I saw a bank, you know, put out that kind of statement.
Yeah.
In other words, if it is not safe, we will not open the banks. And what does that mean? You will not get your money.
That's right.
Where do we go from here?
See, he mentioned briefly the issue of capacity in leadership, you know, and it's a general issue. The moment you don't have capacity to do anything, the ripple effect, you know, on the citizens, you know, can be very devastating. I mean, we're just getting to know now that you didn't have capacity to print the currency. You just suddenly develop a brainwave, you want to change your currency, and you know you don't have that capacity. Was it right for you to embark on that venture and advising the president to go ahead and do it, knowing fully well the kind of hardship that will occur generally? Who are we going to hold responsible in the light of what he has narrated has happened? Banks were being burnt, people were scaling fence, people were beaten up. Is it right? So somebody must be held responsible. So I'm saying that it was wrong for federal government to have embarked on that policy if they were sure that they don't have that capacity to carry it through. So all of us are suffering. For the first time in my life, I go to bank, a banker is giving me 5,000 naira and he's asking me to ban and hide it. Don't allow others to see it. Yes, sir. He was asking me to hide my money.
Your own money?
But yes, I should hide it because there are people who were there who couldn't have access to even 1,000. So he was asking me to hide my 5. He was giving to me. This is my 5. Since how many years I've been practicing law, me go to bank to go and collect 20. I have not done it before. I'm talking about 20. He was giving me 5 and he was asking me hide it. So it is general. I'm happy that the federal government, Femi Adesina,
and you responsibly...
I hid it too because I had to be, you know, responsible enough to listen to his advice. I hid my money.
Be an indictment on the
because he does not have for others who are waiting.
It could be an invitation to chaos.
Yes.
So, gentlemen, it is issue of capacity.
You
the issue of leadership failure in Nigeria for what we are undergoing at this critical moment. So the Supreme Court came to save the situation. That decision was proper. And I know that the Attorney General has challenged the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. We will await the pronouncement whether Supreme Court has jurisdiction over the case.
But speak to the angle that the AGF's office raised.
Yes.
Talking about the case being against the federal government and not the federation and all of that.
Let me just tell you, it is issue of semantics. When you say federation and federal government, you know, as you rightly pointed out, this was a policy of the government of Federal Republic of Nigeria. It was the president that authorized the change of currency and all that. Even the extension of time to 10th of February. You know, he went to go and meet him. I think he met him in Katsina, and the president said 10th of February an extension. So you join the Attorney General, who is the legal officer of all agencies of government, as a party. Now, your argument will be, is there a legal dispute? Which is what it says, Section 232 of the 1999 Constitution. Is there extent of legal right or privilege, you know, that accrues to the state for which there is a dispute now between them and the Federation? The Supreme Court will decide all that. My brother has gone ahead to say that the Supreme Court, I won't say that. Let the Supreme Court look at all the decided authorities. Look at the situation critically and say, do we have jurisdiction? And let them go ahead and pronounce it. Now that the Supreme Court did not raise it from Motu, but a party now has raised it and brought it before them and is filed properly, the Supreme Court will decide it first and foremost, whether it has jurisdiction. So I won't say that they have or they don't have. They will be the one to say they have it. Oh, they don't have it.
Well,
it's very important. Very important. With their own mouth, let them say, with the decided authorities. No, I won't go further as a lawyer to say that. Then the Supreme Court says, I have jurisdiction.
Just one moment, Naira. I want you to speak to that same issue of the argument of the AGF's office about the Federation being different from, the Federation of Nigeria being different from the Federal Republic of Nigeria or the Federal Government of Nigeria as part of his argument to the Supreme Court.
You know, the slippery slope every lawyer in the public realm, you know, works is that you are expected to be circumspect. Lawyers are officers of the Supreme Court of Nigeria.
That's right.
That is how you are called to the bar. Solicitor and advocate of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. You have responsibility to the court. And one of the responsibilities is that if there are live issues before the court, you don't delve into them to discuss the merits and all that. But now, an AGF who has been sued, who is a party to the matter, who should be tongue-tied on the matter and speak in court, is making an argument outside. That's the height of it. And is the head of the official bar, right? Okay? But what we do here is to balance in the public interest. Because this is a matter of public issue, whereas we are in other democracies in the United States. The Supreme Court, they went there and protested and people are talking and all that. Yeah, we know that, but we balance. We won't discuss the merit of it.
That's right.
How it will go here and now. But let me just say, given the little law that I know, the Attorney General of the Federation is the Attorney General of the Federal Government. The Auditor General of the Federation is the Auditor General of the Federal Government, because all the states have their respective Attorney General and whatever. So the semantics and the wolves being forced out of the trees, which I can't see, that, oh, it is, there's no dispute between the states and the federal government, between the federation and all that. I don't understand it. And the last point I want to make on that is that, look, the CBN is an agency of the federal government, given all that I've said. And the federal government is a disclosed principal. I won't say further than that. He knows what I'm talking about. So those who want to amuse themselves that a matter as grave, because this matter is very grave.
It is.
It's grave. The economy that was on crutches before, people, we are not even doing survey. Do you know the impact of this thing on people, on people's economies, on their lives? When you want to reflate the economy, I'm not an economist, but I hear them say that a lot. We have to encourage consumers to spend more, Now you are telling me that you have 5,000 that you have been carrying for 2 weeks, meaning that you are not spending. Their needs, you are not spending. The economy will be tanking, and election is coming. And I keep wondering, what's this all about? You are telling us that this policy is so good, it's for our own benefit, it should have occurred 12 years ago. This administration came to power 2015. 2016 didn't change currency. 2017, 18, 19, and 6 months to or 7 months to the end of his tenure, a dummy was sold. Oh, you know, you are a good president, you are strong on corruption, you did this in 1984 when we had the 53 suitcases saga, so you can do it again. So you did that 12 days then, so you can do it in 1 month. Who does that? In an economy as big as this, in a country as diverse as this. With about 70% of the economy being SMEs. And then you rush it through and say, yes, we want to fight illicit election financing. So that argument is this. An anchor, that argument is this. Anytime Nigerians are saying, are suffering the effect of bad policy, they are told, no, just tolerate it. It is for your own good. It is to fight corruption and all that. So Nigeria must die because you want to use a policy to fight corruption. I think they should just bury the... They should spare us. They should squelch it.
Staying with you, Mr. Ogunye, seeing as the CBN has started something it knew it could not complete, would you say the CBN or the government had ulterior motives?
Well, it is said that even the devil himself does not know the thought of man, right? This conventional saying. I've tried many times to psychoanalyze the administration because of the contradictions of policy somersault, incoherence, even statements not being and also rising to the leadership is about leading. Look at what is just said. Okay? A matter as grave as this was coming and all that, as of today, we now had a pronouncement to say immediately after this is the direction, this is what we are going to do, so that the economy will be stable. Yeah. The CBN is called core duty is to encourage economic stability. Is there in his act? How can an agency created to ensure and guarantee economic stability becomes an agent of instability in the economy and uncertainty in the economy? So I won't go as far as talking about ulterior motive. I'm just wondering the wisdom in implementing a policy that could have been implemented if it's a statutory requirement from day one. But when you situate this in the context of an administration that came to power and for 6 months couldn't form a cabinet, you will say that, well, even till the last day. Yeah, because this is not the only policy that rankles. The other time I read about census, I say, Naira change, election, census. Are you kidding me? So, government is about setting forth at dawn. And I'm referencing Oleshoyinka's book. It's about hitting the ground running. It's about being prepared for the task of governance. Okay? And so, I won't suggest any ulterior motive. All I know is that this must rank as one of the most ill-digested, ill-conceived, and ill-implemented policies of this administration. Because it's a fiasco. Now, if you have to go overseas and start, they said they placed an order for papers. They don't have papers, they went to print. And what's even worse, because I was talking about indemnity, I'm serious about it. Right of action of these banks. For about 2 weeks, the bankers serially were portrayed as hoarders, economic saboteurs and all that, just because you have 1 or 2 cases of money being piled in the whole country. And so, on that occasion, EFCC, all the anti-corruption agencies, and I've been so supportive of these anti-corruption agencies, but I am angry that they went about releasing tapes, demonizing the bankers, and saying that they were the one hoarding. They didn't come clean. They didn't come out to tell Nigerians that, sorry, we lacked capacity. We didn't have we were not printing enough. Now, people were now venting their anger on the banks. Nigerians we saw this unusual spectacle of Nigerians storming banks and stripping themselves naked. In this country, we are almost on the verge of what happened in Algeria.
So the CBN owes us an apology.
That started that Arab Spring. Okay, so I won't talk about ulterior motive. I just talk about general irresponsibility and incompetence.
Dr. Bani, have you noticed the lack of action of the orientation agency? Normally, when things like this are about to happen, people are made aware. There are jingles, the road shows, all kinds of things happen. In this particular case, nothing like that at all.
Have they operated for the past 20-something years we've been in democracy? I'm talking about those agencies, that are supposed to inform, educate, and carry what we call serious advocacy on some of the government policies. What we hear is just when it is time for them to defend their budget before the National Assembly. They will be there, timelessly and very efficiently to defend their budget, after which they go to sleep. It's an indictment, actually. This is a policy of government that you require that oriented that agency, They are into orientation. They're supposed to carry out advocacy. They're supposed to carry out, learning. I mean, making people to be aware of this government policy and why certain things are happening. Do you know that, as my brother rightly pointed out, there is discordant tone even up to the reason for the policy. We hear that this is targeted against the politicians, who will be engaged in vote buying. That's what they told us. Now, do you see any of those politicians on any of the queue? Do you see politicians on the line trying to jump fence in order to enter the bank? Any of the politicians that is targeted? The policy is targeted.
The governor of Kaduna State said one governor took 500 million.
A bank manager gave to him in the house. So you target it against the politician, but the generality of Nigerians are the ones that are suffering. We are under serious pain, by your policy that is not well thought out, that is not well implemented. And as somebody has rightly pointed out, the central bank governor just yesterday now came up with the issue that, gentlemen, I'm sorry, we don't have the capacity to print enough. And so you are coming up with such an explanation at this later on, whereas you have indicted the banks as being the culprit, that they're the one holding the money. And then you set up the banks, set them up, and the people start attacking the banks. Now you're coming up to say you don't have the capacity. So who do we hold responsible?
It's like a pilot flying a plane and say that, sorry, media.
There's no fuel.
There's no fuel.
Please, on a serious note, sir, that is actually what has happened in this particular case. We are just getting to know that they don't have enough material to print the money. But you were telling us you had enough. You went all over saying that you are prepared for it, and other you were not prepared for it. So we are going to hold Emefiele responsible. We must hold him responsible.
Interestingly, my apologies, cutting on. Interestingly, both of you are human rights lawyers.
Yes.
Now, what are the cases, quote unquote, cases against the CBN now from the people?
I tell you, there are many cases that will come up from this. Especially those that the man that went to the bank and and everyone now knows everything about his privacy. Yes, now he has the right of access.
The right to privacy is lost forever.
It's a public interest case, and I believe that the judges of this country are listening, because India has gone far in terms of public interest case. You can come with ordinary letter. I have said it. Ordinary letter now to a court that has jurisdiction, and they will hear your matter. Nobody will tell you, he didn't commence the action with originating process or with a writ of summons. Ordinary letter in India on public interest cases. So people have a cause of action against the central bank governor for what he has done, because he has misled the entire country, misled the president in telling him, oh, we are ready, and then you are not ready. Do you know the kind of suffering people have undergone? And people are still undergoing. As of yesterday, if you see the queues all over the country.
So essentially, even now, when with all of these cases of what the law calls arson, this destruction of public property going on, the police cannot even arrest.
Of course, what are you arresting them for? Because you caused the chaos in the first place. It was government action that led people to do.
The incident that happened in Akure.
Yes.
I saw a policeman. A police station was burned in the wake. It burned in the wake of this.
And somebody died. In
in a plaintive manner, he was crying and wailing and said that, what is that business here? We said we have not even collected the salary. We have not done this and all that.
The policeman
they've come to bomb our station. Is our station debunked, right? So. It's terrible. It's not right.
It's not right.
Somebody was on the queue where I was trying to collect money on Thursday, and his issue was that his housekeeper does not have a bank account because she's a stark illiterate, and he's now trying to gather 30,000 naira. He has to go to several ATMs over God knows how many days to be able to gather 30,000 naira to pay his housekeeper. Pay for January.
Yeah, January.
On Thursday, he was able to collect 5. So he still has a long way to go to get 25.
Depending on how many days.
With the worker.
Now, there's an issue, Dr. Obani, that Mr. Ogunye raised here. The complexity of the process. Before May 29, as at this moment, we have gradually dissipating fuel scarcity on our hands. We have acute Naira scarcity on our hands. Yeah. We have the elections
PVC.
ahead. Yeah. We have, no, PVC is even over. We have the census coming up after the elections. But let's speak to something that arose in your response to Alera's question the other time. Yes. If this was about fighting vote buying, is it possible for people to not compromise this time around?
If as you said, about fighting for whom? You say if
fighting vote buying. Federal government, the whole idea was to fight vote buying so that people
that was the reason they advanced.
Now, if a governor, as you said the other time, could have access to 500 million, how difficult would it be for him to buy votes?
It's not going to be difficult for him because he has access to the money. You know, it's a banker,
especially at the time when people don't have
relationship with these politicians, and that is the truth.
Oh.
Yeah, they have, yes.
No, that's not strange. Dr. Kwakwanso said on our program, when they look, if this was targeted at politicians it falls face flat because some of the bankers, some of the politicians have banks, they have good relationship with bankers.
But I tell you this, most of those bank managers were promoted as a result of attracting large sum of money into the bank through these politicians. So there's a personal relationship.
So will that politician now call you?
Yes, I say I need this money.
I need 100 million now.
You must make it available. So
you don't make it available and you lose the account
exactly.
And your bank now in turn will now sanction you that.
So the whole thing has been counterproductive.
Very counter. It's not well thought out. As Ralipo, it was not well conceived.
But speak to my apologies for butting in, so because I see that we're running out of time. Speak to that complexity of those issues coming up at this time. The CBN had to, when the INEC had to go to the CBN and say, help us, we're going to need cash. Will the census, will the NPC also go? The Population Commission also go to the CBN and say we need cash?
We need cash, yeah. So, this government did not start well. He said it, it took government 6 months for them to constitute.
It's not just because I said it.
No, but it was
you saw it.
No, I'm saying, I'm aligning with you. Listen,
yes.
It took them 6 months to constitute their government. Now, 6 months to the expiration of their government, they are creating more confusion. You see, Buhari's government has taken us backward. That is the truth. And that is the truth, So they didn't start well and they are not ending well. And it all goes to speak to issue of leadership. We should be very careful in recruitment. As we inch towards 2023, the eyes of everyone should be open.
We're there already.
Yeah, we're there. So I am asking Nigerians that we should shine our eyes. Don't come up with all those primordial sentiments. Oh, we come from the same village. We have the same blood relationship. Or he was my schoolmate. Or we attend the same church. Woe betide you, because all of us are going to be, beneficiaries of whatever policy these people churn out. Leadership is key, and I'm saying that Nigerians must be careful in recruitment process. We've made our mistakes from 1960 up to date. Must we continue on that road? Nigerians think. That's what we're supposed to be doing. At every station now, radio station, television, Nigerians think we must not continue on that same path. It's only a madman that does the same thing and expect a different result.
But then the challenge here now is that of a national vision. Yes. There is nothing for people to hold on to.
Yes.
So whoever comes into the saddle as leader of the country goes in whichever tangent he wants.
But that shouldn't be. We should be able to set a timetable, a vision. This is what we want as a nation, just like other nations that have come of age. UK and all that, you see, functional society. People are rushing to all these countries. Why? Because leaders sit down and think, in 10 years' time, this is where I'm taking the country to. You look at every aspect of life, sir. You look at the issue of your key infrastructure, human capital development. In 20 years, this is where we're going to be. Look at China, sir. Look at Singapore. So it's issue of getting a national vision and getting the kind of leaders that we now appropriate that vision and run a country in a manner that all of us should be proud of. I'm saying that we have come a long way as a nation. We made all our mistakes, with all the primordial sentiment. 2015, we're all here saying, somebody said change. All of us believe in the same change. But we didn't know the kind of change. But we're seeing the change. So 2023, let Nigerians' eye be open in order to recruit the kind of leadership that can take us to where we want to be.
We're 2 weeks away from that election, of doing what he's saying now. What would be your counsel to Nigerians in this light?
In these elections, I don't know whether you have noticed, before today, I've not been appearing on television and all that. I've been declining interview invitations. Truth. Many. Because the enthusiasm It's not there for me. Nigerians, an election is coming.
Are you going to vote?
I reserve my comment.
Okay, fine.
You plead
the fifth. That's okay.
Nigerians, an election is coming. This is our country. There's a proverb. I won't go into the appropriate translation. It's Yoruba proverb, which says that Entegumbanle Komaroju.
Komaroju?
Bó ṣe ń rẹ ara ayé, bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ló ń rẹ èrò ọ̀run. So you are being chased by the masquerade. You know, who is supposed to be our ancestors from the extraterrestrial realm, that just persevere. Be running. Don't let it catch up with you. As you are getting tired, as the mortal is getting tired, the spiritual is also getting tired. So Nigerians shouldn't just give up. I know, I'm encouraging myself now. Nigerians shouldn't just give up.
That's right.
You know, as they give us all this, you know, it was a fella that once sang, sorry, pardon my French, give me shit, I give you shit. So we shouldn't come with resignation and say that we're tired.
That is a good one. That's a good one.
We must continue to nurse our fledgling hope, strengthen its legs, and make it to sustain us for the long term. Until the enemies of our people possibly are vanquished, and our society will be a better society.
That's a good place to leave it. But I would like to end with the question, how much more can Nigerians endure? We had two legal practitioners with us this morning looking at the issue of the
Who are, by the way, human rights lawyers as well.
To look at the Naira redesign policy, Mr. GT Ogunye and Dr. Monday Ubani. Thank you very much for coming to share your time with us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you for staying with us at home. Sunrise will be right back with another interesting conversation. Stay with us.
Thank you for staying with us. Well, women's equal participation and leadership in political and public life are essential to achieving that sustainable development goal by 2030. Of course, data released by the United Nations shows that as at 19th September 2022, that's last year, there are 28 countries where 30 women serve as heads of state and or government. But at the current rate, gender equality in the highest positions of power will not be reached for another 130 years. Just 13 countries have a woman head of state. 15 countries have a woman head of government, which means women are underrepresented at all levels of decision-making worldwide. And that achieving gender policy or gender parity in political life is far off. Of course, Nigeria has been recording low participation of women in both elective and appointed positions consistently. This is a growing concern for many Nigerians. A concerted efforts have been made and are being made by government and non-governmental organizations to increase the level of participation of women in politics in line with the declaration made at the 4th World Conference on Women in Beijing, what is known as the Beijing Conference, which advocated 30% affirmative action. Let's have a conversation around this morning with Dr. Ebit Ndok-Jegede, who is chairperson, United National Party for Development. She joins us from our Abuja studio, as well as Mrs. Betta Edu, who is National Women Leader of the All Progressives Congress, also joins us from Abuja, only this time virtually. Thank you for joining us, ladies. Let me begin with you, Dr. Ndok-Jegede. Now, needless to say, a lot of action has been taken and is being taken. What would you make of how quickly or not we are taking action along the line of increased women participation, speaking from participation in our political life? Can you hear me, madam?
Just a bit. I lost you
Okay.
at the last session. I lost you.
Okay.
Could you go over it again, please?
Yes, definitely. Just wanted to confirm how you would say we have performed as a nation in terms of facilitating women participation in politics since at least, let's begin from the Fourth Republic.
Between you and good morning, and thank you for having me on this program. Between you and I, we know that nothing much has been achieved as far as that participation of more women in politics is concerned. My take is that the political parties that are supposed to field women in different positions are not doing enough as far as that is concerned. So I believe that contributes to the disparity of women participation in politics. So we need the political parties actually to enlighten, empower, and emancipate more women participation in politics. Dr. Edu, I hope you can hear me. Dr. Jegede says that the political parties who are supposed to field the women. My question to you is, are there enough women coming out and offering themselves to be fielded to start with?
Thank you very much for having me this morning. So I think first is a very critical issue that Africa and indeed Nigeria needs to pay special attention to. We must be very deliberate in including our women in the political leadership and governance space. And I'm happy that my party is actually pushing hard on that right now. The first step is the fact that we as a party, APC, were able to sensitize our women to come all out and participate in the entire process. Both from the level of delegates to contesting for elections and the rest of it. We had lots of women come out for the very first time. We offered them the nomination forms free of charge. Remember, there are barriers that hold women back from participating in politics. One of it is their financial capacity. So when they don't have the capacity to buy the forms, they don't have the capacity to run their elections, they feel very weak coming out to participate in the electoral process. So they just want to chant and support the male folks to get to where they want to go to. So we tried to take off some of these barriers, and we saw a lot of women come out, and presently on the ticket of our party, we have close to 95 women who are running in the next general election from the next 2 weeks into March.
That's interesting. 95 women. Well, I suppose compared to times before now, that's a huge number of women.
Very huge as compared to before now. Very huge.
Yes, it is a huge number. Dr. Jegede, the main constraint from my reading is the funds. How are women going to get the funds to compete on the same level as the men? Or do the men have to give us tokens because we don't have the money? Finance has been a problem for most women contestants or participants in politics. I think we need to begin to look at avenues to raise funds for most women. So a lot of enlightenment, education, and support should be coming from CSOs. There are international organizations giving grants. So it is the responsibility of whosoever or the party who is representing bringing a woman to contest to source for such avenues for female participants. But I would say that it is the responsibility of whoever wants to participate to move around, to source for funds, plan and prepare herself for whatever election or position she is interested in. Because nobody is going to help you. Nobody.
Well, is there any, beside money, what other challenges do you see women having in terms of participating in politics and growing in the political space? That's for you, Dr. Jagede.
I mean, I've been contesting elections since 2011. In 2007, I contested as a VP on the platform of New Nigeria People's Party, and I contested presidency in 2011 on the platform of United National Party for Development. And I don't really see any problem apart from the finance, because I have been accepted everywhere I go. If you have what it takes, if you have, know your onions, people actually will accept you if you can deliver.
But then that also raises another issue. I'll stick with you for a moment, Dr. Jagede. That also raises the issue of capacity. I'm not sure. I mean, just as you said, people have to search for the women. Both of you have made reference to that. Have to search for the women who have the capacity or who can match, at whatever level in the political space. Do you see a system in our country, whether in public life or in political life, that prepares women for leadership or for this political practice? Do you see a system around it?
There's no system presently, but I personally am looking into creating a level playing field for more women participation in politics. Because I'm starting an NGO called Women's Solidarity Worldwide. And I'm looking for, where I will be looking for women who are strong enough, who have the capacity, intellectually and leadership-wise, that can deliver and support them financially. I will make it my responsibilities to actually source the funds and allow them, bring them into political parties as well, enlighten them, and prepare the grounds for them. But I believe the next election, it's going to be a better position or a better time for us to be able to include more women. This time, for 2023, it is late, but there is room for change. There is room for development.
Dr. Edu, kindly give us the benefit of your experience. You are one of the, should I say, lucky women, and you have risen to become a national leader. What has the journey been like for you? And I'm asking this so that those who are the young ladies and women who are aspiring to come into politics will be able to learn a thing or two from you.
Okay, so first was the fact that I had that very strong support from my family, especially my father, who believed a lot in the female gender and would always tell you that you are the best thing that has happened to Nigeria, and you had a lot of impact to play, a huge role to play in the development of our country. And so it kept me focused on what is expected of me. And then secondly, I was lucky enough to have my capacity built both in terms of academics and exposure at a very young age. So almost at 14 plus, I was done with the secondary school, and then I headed on to the university. I was done being a medical doctor. It was lots of hard work, concentration, and hard work at every level, building my capacity as much as I can and preparing myself for opportunities that might arise. The truth of the matter is it's not an easy thing for a woman to rise in a patriarchal society. Nigeria is one, and we must be able to face that fact. First and foremost, the structures are not in support of the women. Secondly, we have cultural barriers, we have religious barriers, we have empowerment issues where women are not financially empowered. We have issues where women don't have, we don't have so many women with enough capacity in terms of education, where they are less educated as compared to the male folks. We thank God that that picture is beginning to change by the day. And then, of course, the ideology that women should not be in leadership, women should not be in governance, women should not be in politics. If you find a woman in politics, then that woman is wayward, that woman is not focused, that woman doesn't know what she wants out of life. So it's not been very easy. For me as a person, it's been that hard work and indeed mentorship from several mentors who have worked under, like the governor of Cross River State and his wife, and of course several other mentors that have worked under them. They have taught me, they've groomed me, and they've raised me. I became a special advisor to the governor in my 20s. I became a director general of an agency in my 20s, early 30s. I became a commissioner for health and the chairman of all the commissioners of health in Nigeria in my early 30s. And at every point in time, I've been basically the youngest in the group. But then it's not about the age, but about the capacity and what you bring to the table. And so for me, my message to young women, number one, you must work hard. Number two, you must build your capacity, build your educational capacity, build your capacity to represent, get the right exposure that you need. Number three, you need the right mentors that can be able to talk to you, mentors that can call you when you're diverted from your focus and put you on the right track. And then number four, you need to have faith in yourself. You need to have confidence in yourself that you have solutions. Once you have solutions to offer, automatically you begin to lead. And leadership does not start from when you are in one big leadership position or the other. It begins from your household. It begins from your society. It begins from your community. What are the issues on ground? And how can you as a woman profile solutions to them? Remember, you have to work sometimes twice as hard as a man to get the same credit and the same impact that a man will get. So I advise women.
My apologies for butting in, Dr. Edo. I find that rather interesting because it's not the same parameters, if I can use that word, in private life. I mean, in private business. It's not the same in the private sector. We have had women, we still do have women who are heading ministry, big businesses, running into all kinds of levels of, I don't even know, money and all of that. So are you saying by any shade of commitment or whatever, that we have a completely different set of rules for public life as opposed to private sector participation?
Very true. Very true. I'll just give you a very simple example. A man will be more confident and happy with his wife managing a business or managing his own business, and will be less comfortable with his wife becoming the governor of a state.
Okay.
Right? So those are the kind of things that you face. In the public space, it's a different ball game entirely. In politics, in leadership, in governance, it's a different ball game entirely. Our party today has a woman who is running for the governorship of a state, Adamawa State. And you can imagine that people will come out and say, no, a woman cannot rule. A woman cannot be on top of them. In the religion, it does not allow women to be on top. A man should lead. That's what the religious book says, and the rest of it. So the political space is completely different from the private sector, even though in the private sector, they still face some of those challenges. But then in the political sector, it's lots more. And we keep encouraging women, go out there, speak up. We pray that we get the right legislations in place. This will form the framework for women to really be emboldened to come out and demand for their right and participate fully in politics and governance.
Dr. Ndok Jegede, what has your experience been? Because you just told us that you vied for office twice before, and not just any old office, high up offices. How did the men react to you coming forward?
My interest in making a change to my community. I was playing politics in England. I was an activist, working on with CSOs, with what we call voluntary organizations in England, fighting for people's rights, contributing to making a change for Africans in the United Kingdom. And I just thought that, well, I could make a change when I come to my country. And that is what led me to register United National Party for Development. And while I was there, I was able then to put my name in for elective position. So, I mean, it's a matter of interest, the love, and the care that you have to make a contribution to the society. So that is what has brought me to this level.
How did the men react when you put yourself forward?
Well, a little bit of reticence at the initial stage, but when they see my passion and my love for the people and the kind of ideas that I raise, they began to respect me for who I am and for what I stand for.
Let me come back to you, Dr. Edu, because at the end of the day, I mean, you're already beginning to give counsel to young people about the things that they need to do and to not do and all of that. But with the distractions that they have to face first, the hurdles of their own personal lives, personal discoveries that they have to face first, how can society help? You made it clear that first of all, it is the responsibility of the individual to get this thing done for himself or for herself, and that's understandable. But speaking to women generally now, there's a lot of political activity going on right now. What are the safe ways in which young people can come in? Of course, Dr. Ndok Jegede said earlier that, look, forget about 2023, it's all gone. But there's always a preparation and always a sustainable activity that people need to get into. What are the safe spaces that you would recommend for the young women to go into and the ones that they shouldn't go into, irrespective of what age they are in right now and the challenges that they are currently facing?
So I answer this question in two ways, right? Number one, 2023 is the time to start. If women believe that would have an increased number of representation in the next 4 years, the time to start that action is now. So what are the constitutional reviews we need to do? How can we participate in politics at local level? How can you get involved in the electoral process? How can you get involved with the election day process? So you begin to understand the expectation of anyone who is running and those who are voting for that person. Get fully involved. Understand what INEC does. Understand what the security agencies do. Understand what the electorate, what they do and how they go about the entire process is very, very important. So you must do that self-education. Now, on the aspect of society, what should society be doing for that woman to ensure that she is encouraged? You have heard in recent times where we have programs like He for She, where the federal government have, through the Ministry of Women Affairs, have recruited men to become advocates too for women. So women are not struggling the space with you. We're not saying we're equal to you. We're not saying we're parallel to you. We're just saying that we are partners in nation building, and we must be given the right seats at the table to contribute our quota. So at this point in time, Nigeria needs to be conscious of raising he for she's, men who would deliberately go out there to stand, speak, and support women. This should begin from the home. This should begin from the society. So the homes where men look at women who are involved in politics, leadership, or governance as being wrong, we should begin to change our mindset from that way. Of course, beyond the home, the society, we should be encouraged at all levels to participate in leadership, in governance, and our voices should be heard. Churches, religious houses should work hard at encouraging women to get into leadership positions and sensitizing them on the right ways to go. And then for the women, very soon, beyond these general elections, you'll soon be having local government elections. You can start from the grassroots. You can be a ward woman leader. You can be a state woman leader, local government woman leader. You can run for councillor. You can run for chairman of council, or you can be a vice chairman of council. We can encourage the twinning culture where women can participate with a man. If a man is the governor, a woman is the deputy, a man is a chairman, a woman is a deputy. And then we need more programs across the nation, programs that empower women. So if there are programs that we are writing under any disguise in any sector, we must be very, very gender sensitive as a country. So in the beneficiary, whether it's employment, whether it's contract, whether it's a program, 80%, 70%, 50%, 40%, 30% should be females. This is how you begin to build financial capacity of those who run elections in the next 4 years. And of course, beyond that, we can have other programs that will sensitize women, that will bring them out, that will embolden them, that will tell them their rights and the things they can do to contribute their own quota to nation development. So these are ways, low-hanging fruits, that both the society, governments, and indeed the individuals can key in to what is going on in politics, in leadership, and in governance.
Do you see a situation where the political parties actually create a system like that? For instance, your own party, do you see a situation, or is there such a plan of developing, perhaps by way of policy or whatever it is, a system where the political parties develop systems or policies or activities or practices that encourage or educate, strengthen, build the capacity of women so we can achieve that gender parity going by the Beijing
So
conference?
I think this will be a very huge opportunity to again educate and inform Nigerians of what is going on in our party and what is actually going on with the entire process, election process that is going on. First and foremost, we had a constitutional review early last year where it was revealed that for delegates, both at the ward, local government, and state level, out of every 5, 2 must be women. So that constitutional review has given women that right to participate. In fact, implementation at some point, we saw them, some places bringing in all 5 men, and we sent the list back and said, the constitution says 2 must be women. So go and look for 2 women and put them on the list. And then, of course, at the national delegate level, where they vote for the presidential candidate, 1 out of every 3 must be female, and that was followed to the later. So these are constitutional reviews that already begin to give women that empowerment. I also mentioned to you about the free forms which we give to women. But beyond that, I think it's an opportunity for me to speak about our presidential candidate, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He is a man who has promised Nigerian women that he will be giving 35% affirmative actions in his entire government. So both in leadership positions, employment, contract, 35 is the minimum that Nigerian women will get. And he has shown this from the beginning. He has shown this in past. In Lagos as a state, he was the first one who started the twinning, where a governor runs with a woman as his vice. He was the first one who made the head of the judiciary a woman in Lagos. And of course, I can go on and on to give you his full dossier and his support for Nigerian women. And that's why we're calling on them to vote for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Dr. Ndok Jekede, is there any such system in your party, any deliberate policy in your party to groom women? Because we want more women on this playing field.
Actually, I was working with the UN Women. When I registered, I floated the United National Party for Development. I put it to them that what the UNPD wanted to do was to encourage more women participation. Incidentally, this 2023 election, what I prepared with another party that I was working with was a governor, if we have a male governor, a female governor. And we were actually working with 30% affirmative action, preparing for this election. Unfortunately, that party, incidentally, is having a little bit of problem because they've fallen into two factions. So that is what is creating problem. But all through the line, from presidential down to senatorial, representative, local government, we tried to put 30% in every position for the 2023 election. So as soon as they get through with INEC, I'm sure something is going to be different.
Are there more women now as opposed to when you contested in 2017?
11.
11 women?
2011. No, I didn't get you. What was the question?
Are there more women in your party now, and are there more women stepping forward for to contest for positions now than when you contested?
Yes, I actually attended a UN meeting a week before Christmas last year. And I was surprised because we had a lot of women attend the meeting. We had 25 female governor contestants, and across board, a lot of women are actually contesting elections now. Unfortunately, you know, like we started before, the financial problem that is creating their exposure is what is standing in the way. But more women actually came out for this meeting with the United Nations before Christmas.
Okay.
So I'm sure
we have run
after this one, come next election, they have learned their lesson that finance is a problem. They will make a better inroad into looking for funding.
Well, we have to thank you very much, ladies, for being a part of this program this morning. And let's hope that a good number of women have also been encouraged and challenged or provoked, if I can use whichever of the words, who are listening right now to say, I think I can give this a try. Dr. Ibiti Ndok Jegede, Chairperson, United National Party for Development, as well as Dr. Betta Edu, National Women Leader, All Progressives Congress. Thank you so much for being a part of our conversation this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so we'll take a short break, and when we return,
thank you for staying with us. And by the way, this is still sunrise, as you can see from behind me.
Yes.
I'm just stating the obvious.
Yes, just to cook. While the sun rose this morning, a friend, while we were talking about Naira redesign the other time, he sent in a message. He said, and I quote, AY, that's the first thing. That's the first thing he said. I just went to buy akara and bread in my area, Ogudu, this morning. The sellers refused to collect my old notes. My Grillos and eatery in my area too now refuse to collect the old notes. He closed. Will I take them to court or force them?
Did I not say so when we were discussing the matter? That nobody will accept those old notes.
Well,
I'm not even sure that the big supermarkets will collect them from you.
Maybe the fuel stations will. No. Introduce him first. We don't know what we're talking about.
No, I'm just looking at him. Well. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Temipre Silva, announced that the petrol scarcity being witnessed across the country would reduce from next week. Well, actually, I can testify. It's reducing already.
I can't testify.
He also warned against any attempt to disrupt the nation's petroleum supply and distribution chain. That doesn't have to do with you. It has to do with our guest here, Mike Osatuyi, who is a National Operations Controller, Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN. Thank you very much for coming, Mr. Osatuyi.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigerians.
So is it true that the queues are reducing already?
Yeah, it's a fact that the queues is coming down.
Okay.
And we can see that in all the stations down there, we have people that have fuel, but at different prices anyway.
For those who... it's still at different prices?
Yes, it is.
But we saw an announcement also that depots were now... Fuel was now going at 172 Naira to the marketers. So if they're buying at 172 uniform price, why are they selling at different prices?
Actually, last Thursday there was a flag off by depot owner at Ijogun Assis, championed by the chairman of that Assis, Emadev, to demonstrate that they have agreed to be selling at 172 to us, but they have not got some vessels are discharging, and some will get their own next week. But at least we are happy that there's a demonstration, there's a commitment on their part. But as of now, my members still have old stock, which they are still dispensing, and we have asked for grace of about 10 days, but now maybe about 8 days, so that my members can dispense all the old stock before we start stocking at new price. Okay. But let me say in Nigeria that at least for depot not to have now agreed that they are going to be giving us at official price, I think we have to commend them. But the sincerity will be demonstrated when we have my members buying at that 172, which we are going to tell Nigerians.
Okay, let me take you back, because all those months we heard all kinds of reasons for the queues. What were the issues that made those queues linger for so long?
Well, it bears on supply. If we don't have enough supply into the system, then definitely the demand, if demand and supply are not at equilibrium, then there are going to be problems. But when the president of the country, Muhammadu Buhari, now intervened by setting up a 40-man committee, which he chaired, I think the system now knows that it's not a joke. So for president to be chairman of committee to distribute fuel, so there's a kind of a step up from the authority, from the NPC, to increase supply, and I think they have done that, and that's why queues has reduced, and that's why I think we have some little normalcy in the system.
Well, my colleague began the program by saying, what magic wand did the NNPCL GMD wave to make this happen now? This advocacy, this instruction that we now hear from the NNPCL and GMDs that the IPMAN will receive directly from the NNPC. What made it take so long, in your opinion? How come that didn't happen as quickly as how many months ago, so that we didn't have to go through these challenges that we're having right now, which is something that your association had always canvassed for anyway?
It's not months. For years, we have not been receiving directly from an NPC. Maybe about 5-10%. We buy majority from the depot owners. They give them PFI, and the depot owners go through process of evacuating to vessels to their own depots. If my members are majorly 85% of their operations centers on my members, we buy from them throughout the whole country, from Calabar to Port Harcourt to Agara to Lagos here. So, and we have been crying for years that give us this product directly, which is what I think they want to do now. And I believe that they won't stop, because when we get it directly from them, it's going to be at official price. And then we're also going to sell at a very reasonable price. Reasonable, I said, because the transport element is also a factor. When you transport a truck now from here to Ekiti State at about 1.2 million, 1 million, then you cannot buy at 195 or 200. It's not possible. Just because of the transport element. If I told you buy at 172, by the time you add about 30 Naira to read to 25 Naira, it has already reached about 200. So you should expect to buy higher. But at the same time, it must be reasonable.
Okay, how much is fuel today in Lagos?
Lagos today, you see fuel in some places at 190, maybe 200, 118. I mean, in mega stations. But my members still bought yesterday at 220. By the time you add the transport element, it's going to about 240 to stay. So it still varies, but at least it has gone down from that madness of 400, 350 or something. It's coming down. And I hope that by next week, it will going to come down. It can't fizzle out in a day.
I thought there was because I remember we had a guest here when he was talking about some depots in different parts of the country, even up north in the Niger Delta area and all of that. So I expect that those are also NNPC dumps, that when people, your members and other people go there to purchase, they should be getting at that 172 Naira per liter, as opposed to the increases or having to move fuel from down south here all the way to the north via road.
Yeah, we don't get at 172 for years.
But you are getting at 172 now.
We have not. We have. I mean, there was a flag off last week, to Thursday, to demonstrate that yes, we are ready. And I still can, but emphasis of my members lifted from that depot.
That's from Lagos.
From Madebs, just to demonstrate. But the vessel has not really. That is discharging, and maybe over the weekend, by next week, which it's different from depot to depot, right? And in fact, Ijegun basis, they're talking about 6 vessels this February, right? And Abuja addresses, and I believe that by the time they discharged, then they will be selling. But as yesterday, they are still selling 220.
All this is in Lagos. That's the question that I'm asking.
Sorry?
All this is happening in and around Lagos.
Yeah.
Now, I'm talking about those depots or discharge points where your members can get this fuel at the same price they get in Lagos in different parts of the country. There are such depots that, they don't have to move fuel from Lagos by road to, say, Sokoto or to Abuja, for instance.
No, there's no way you are. I mean, there's no depot that. In fact, we don't have depot in Abuja or whatever. But all transportation must start from the coastal areas,
which is in Lagos,
which is Calabar, Ogara, Lagos, all those coastal areas. Okay. That's the majority. Like northeast. Along Adamawa and Co is being fed by Calabar and Port Harcourt, and they even come as far back as to Warri.
We understand that many years ago, fuel was transported throughout Nigeria via pipelines. Is that correct?
Very correct.
Okay. What happened to those pipelines? And do you see a chance when we can get back to that level so we can cut down the cost of this, transportation thing that is also increasing fuel prices?
Yeah, you see, the question you ask is very right. But at the same time, let me ask you also, what happened to our refinery that they do? That's the same thing that happened to the refinery, happened to the pipelines. That is truth. But if it's your property, it's your own personal business, it will work. You make the pipeline to work. You make the refinery to work. But because it's government property,
government property is nobody's property.
But I know that if one person can put up, he can put up a refinery that is the 7th largest in the whole world after the one in South Korea, then how is it not possible for the whole country to conceive and make sure that they build refinery within limited time. Bearing in mind that the government also provide the enabling system for this refinery to come up. So why can't government have their own within that?
The reason I asked that question.
Sorry, they gave them the forex, the facilities, everything. So why? So that is just to answer the question about pipeline.
The reason I asked that question, and I'm pretty sure nobody wants to have a repeat of the experience we've had the past few months, because there are those who argue that we haven't had this kind of experience in a few years, gone by. How come we're having it now? So what are those systems that you would say are crucial beside the refineries? I'm not even going to expect so that I'm not overly disappointed. What are those structures that you think should be put in place to avert this kind of scarcity that we've had? Because we haven't had it this bad in a very long time.
In years back, we have 21 depots in the country, right? In Northeast, we have in Yola, Jos, Maduguri, right? And Northwest, we have in Guzo, Meno, Suleja, Kaduna. Southwest here, we have in Ilorin Ore, Ibadan, Lagos, and and also in the East.
How many do we have now?
20. No, we still have those depots, 21. But they are not working.
How many are
the
working?
The whole 21 depots are not working.
How many are working now?
No, none is working. None. The government depends now majorly on the depot owners.
The private owners?
Yes.
Okay. But Nigeria has 21 official
depots that serviced us before. That time there was no problem, no issues.
Why have these 21 depots gone under?
It can only be explained by the government, but at the same time, we Nigerians also are part of the problem. Because all these pipelines, we have vandals. By the time you pump about 10 million liters at Cove in Lagos here to Mosimi, by the time you get to Mosimi, you will only receive about 6 million liters. So no sane businessman we continue to be pumping. The same problem we have in this crude pipeline that is being exposed a few months ago, the same problem we're having in the pipeline that carry the fuel. Or between Mosby and another crude, you have about 20-30 ponds that they siphon this fuel. So nobody will continue to do that kind of business. So you see some lines going to so many, even houses. We have got so many examples. People that build a house on the pipeline, and they are siphoning the fuel. So we are part of the problem, Nigerians.
So this is where we are now, and even now a number of people are wondering, getting the fuel to buy is one thing, getting money to buy the fuel is another. Now we hear that the Supreme Court has ruled about the old Naira notes. We asked that question jokingly the other time, and my colleague asked you, so please look at her, don't look at me, and answer the question. Will fuel stations collect old Naira notes?
Well,
because the Supreme Court has ruled that it should be, no one should discriminate against
the old ones.
Now,
as at yesterday, we have a confusing situation, right? More especially when the Council of State met yesterday. We are waiting for the outcome of the meeting to say, okay. But at the same time, under a judgment, a court ruling is bad or good, you must abide by it.
The Supreme Court, please.
You will collect.
Sorry?
You will collect old notes.
No, we are going to collect. Till Wednesday, we are collecting. But public now do business, buy fuel now mostly using transfers. We collect. In fact, we have very few Naira cash in the system.
Should we from Keke?
Maybe Keke do transfer now.
Okay.
They do transfer.
Right. So Okada, right?
Okada do also do transfer.
Okay, should there be anyone watching now who will go to a fuel station and your members say they can't collect the old Naira notes, what should they do?
No, they have to correct, because as at now, it's still illegal tender in Nigeria until Wednesday, when the case is being argued. Then we know where we are going. But they have to correct, because it's still illegal tender. Okay. Yesterday, it could have ceased. Yeah. But the Supreme Court has ruled that it has to continue until Wednesday.
Is there an instruction to your members to that effect?
We have told our members that IPA members, we are not binding. We can't go against the ruling of Supreme Court, not even High Court, it's Supreme Court. That's the final court in the highest court in the land.
Yeah.
Okay, now you still haven't. So what happens to all those structures in the fuel supply chain now? From what you're reading, going by the conclusion of that meeting and the resolution which saw to the NNPCL GMD coming out to say, okay, this is what is going to happen now. IPMAN will get the fuel directly. What, in your opinion, should happen to those structures that were, as you alluded the other time, bottlenecks in the supply chain?
With the community being put up now, I think whatever bottleneck that is there has to be stopped. Because there's nothing impossible. If we are committed, if we are sincere, if we are patriotic, if it's our business, we know how to do it rightly. Like this TV has been on for years, and you people are operating seamlessly without either the spray of diesel or NEPA, because it is yours. So we should also apply the same thing to running the government, to running any system, our company. So we have to do things right. Whoever has started with the authority, to make things work, should do their job at any chain. They have to do their work, because they are being paid for it. And they don't now need to create unnecessary arbitrage and rent in the system.
Okay. So this means that this is the beginning of the end of the fuel queues.
Yeah, I think there's freshness
for now.
There's freshness on their part now.
Until you all find something else to quarrel with.
I don't think I don't think it will come back again, because if the president has taken over the job of distributing and supplying fuel in the country, it means we have a problem. It means there's a problem. There's a failure from some sections. But I think they have come
because
back.
the president was involved, you all will not dare disobey or do otherwise.
No, right? not we are to buy and sell to the public, but if they refuse to give us, right, for whatever reason, we have no choice.
Oh, okay.
And knowing fully well that NNPC is the monopoly of importation and distribution. So if they give us, we sell. We are businessmen.
Okay. Mr. Mike Osatui, National Operations Controller, Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN. Thank you very much for coming to, well, should I say, share this good news with us?
Thank you.
Thank you. Because we are tired of seeing fuel queues. This went on for what, 5 months?
We're
4 months.
We're even tired of coming and be spinning every time, you know. I mean,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
At least now you know that they will collect your old notes, so no need to panic.
We'll be right back with, what was it again?
Musculoskeletal health. Pronounce it. Yes. It's about your body. So don't even think too much about it. It's the health that refers to the structures in your body relating to muscles, tendons, ligaments, joints, and bones. The health of these structures is influenced by a wide variety of factors. And I'm suspecting it also includes what you eat. I guess we'll get to that with Dr. Bisola Laoluakiola, who is a physiotherapist. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma.
So,
good morning.
We're here. Health Science 101.
101. Oh, is it 001?
Yes, because
I can imagine.
So we know what the definition of musculoskeletal health is. But in reality, what does it mean to the human being watching us right now?
Okay, so like we know, this segment is lifestyle. So lifestyle just includes the things we do and the things we don't do in our daily activities. And then musculoskeletal health is a part of the body system that includes the muscles, just like you actually defined, the joints and the bones. But this body system is the one responsible for carrying our weight and also responsible for how we move. So that's what musculoskeletal is. It's just about the performance of all of these tissues, bones, joints, and muscles that helps us to move. So that's what musculoskeletal health is.
Okay, so that's what do you mean when you say it's about motor skills, right?
Yes, motor skills is just, yes, how we move. The skills we need to move.
Okay.
So all those things come together to give us motor skills, yes.
So what are the common challenges? Okay, no, before I come to that, what are the common errors people make in that impinge our motor skills? The choices we make in the way we move or don't move, position ourselves or not. What are the common errors we make inadvertently that someone could actually be making this very moment and they don't know?
Okay, so let me just like you said, there are some things we do and we don't do that can impact our musculoskeletal health. But let me give you a background. You know, when we think about musculoskeletal, it's not just only lifestyle. There are some that could be congenital. That means the person was given birth to that way, and because of that, they have musculoskeletal issues. Some could be traumatic, and what I mean is maybe somebody is involved in a road traffic accident, a fall. So all of those things can cause musculoskeletal issues. So now to restrict it to our lifestyle, there are so many. I mean, I don't know how many minutes we have, but we can't even exhaust it in this segment. But one of the things is the way we carry things. So for example, maybe someone that is a sales girl in a supermarket or someone who just works in a place where they have to, maybe in a factory where they have to carry things that are heavy. What most people would do is to carry it and, they
You
bend.
can demonstrate it to us.
Okay.
I'm sure that will work.
So one of the things people would do, okay, so let's just assume that.
Okay, no, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay, so let's just assume that I need to carry this table. Okay. What most people would do is they'll bend their back.
Okay.
So what we should do is, I wish we can actually demonstrate.
Squat.
Yes. So go close to that object. Go close to the object, and as much as possible, try to widen the legs such that it's about shoulder width apart. So
let's imagine I want to carry this table.
Yes.
So
you go close to it.
Instead of doing this.
Exactly.
I shouldn't do this.
You shouldn't do that.
I should do this.
So your legs.
I widen my leg.
Widen your leg. Before you go down, tighten your belly muscles.
My core.
Your core muscles. Fantastic. Okay. Because when you do that, you're going to be stabilizing your spine.
Okay.
You give your spine more stability.
Okay.
To prevent injury.
Okay.
And then after you do that, then you squat.
I can now squat.
Then you squat.
This.
Good, fantastic. And then you carry it. And once you carry it,
okay,
you take it close to the body.
Oh.
Close to the body.
Not like this.
Not like this. Because when you're doing that, you are going to be straining some tissues further. So you take it close to the body and make sure that you have a firm grip on it.
Okay.
Yes. So that's a good way. I mean, you will have...
We have been doing it wrong all our lives.
Oh, yes. But speak to those women who wash clothes.
Okay. So, I mean, depending on the setting. So let me just use a typical... There's a basin and then there's a small stool.
Yeah.
Instead of... Or let's say there's a basin, some people will bend their back and be washing.
Yes. And hold one hand to the knee like this and wash it like that.
Exactly. So why not just get a chair, that has
a small stool.
Yes. Maybe something that even has good back support.
Okay.
And then get a table, put it in front of you, and or maybe a low stool. But whatever you're going to be doing, make sure that is such that you can easily wash. You are sitting down, you are still, erect.
So your back is as upright as possible.
As upright as possible.
Okay.
Just bring the basin to your level such that you are not bending your back. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So that's depending, I don't know, different settings. But whatever it is you're going to be doing, just make sure that, you know, you put it such that, you know, your back is erect and you're not training your back further.
Okay. I'm going to call for a short break for like 2 minutes so that some adjustments can be made to your microphone, because I suspect that you would want to demonstrate a thing to us. So let's take a short break for about, say, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, so that we can get Dr. Olaoluwa to demonstrate a thing or two to us. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
So now you know if you've been carrying it all wrong, especially when you have to move house, and you've been having those back aches.
Maybe you know why.
Maybe that's one of the reasons. Yes, so Dr. Olaoluwa, people have been doing that wrong for a long time.
Yes.
What is the consequence?
The consequence is pain. Pain in the low back, pain in the neck.
In the low back?
In the waist. So what people would call waist pain, neck pain, shoulder pain. You know, and we see a lot of people that come to us. Most of the time, apart from cancer pain, musculoskeletal pain is the most common pain according to WHO. So you see, okay, once I introduce myself or anybody knows I'm a physiotherapist, I bet you 9 out of 10 people will always tell me, so there's this wrist pain I've been having. So there's this, I'm like, okay. So like almost everyone have one pain or the other. You know, so to answer your question, that's the consequence, pain. And what is the consequence of pain? Disability in one form or the other. So you see that people are not able to do things that they would normally love to do. Going to church, going to mosque, going to parties, a grandma not being able to care for her grandchildren or not being able to carry her grandchildren because of pain, you know, or one thing or the other. You know, so that's the consequence.
Okay. Now, our devices are a major part of our lives now in the 21st century.
Yes.
And I have seen many videos trying to teach us how to use our telephones. But
something that you bought with your money.
It seems a tall order.
A tall order.
Because it's a bit difficult for you to sit and use a phone like this.
I know.
Most of us bend over.
Bend over.
So which is the correct way to use your laptop or your phone?
Okay, so there are 2 questions. So let's start with the laptop or our desktop. So again, depending on how your setup is. Now, if you need to use a laptop or a desktop, it must be such that the top of the monitor, the top of the screen, should be at your eye level.
Oh.
Yes. So, because if it's too low or too high...
The laptop is on the table and you are crouched down like this.
Yes.
punching on it.
So whatever I always say, depending on your setup. So you might need to bring your laptop up, or you need to come down. You just need to adjust either the chair or the desk. So it must be such that the top of the monitor.
Are you listening?
So even my design is not enough. It's not rich.
I can imagine.
You still have to bend.
Yes, must be at the high level to prevent straining of the shoulder or straining of the neck. That's number one. Another thing that is so important is the keyboard. If it's a desktop, for example, or there's a keyboard attached to the laptop, it must be such that it shouldn't be too far from you. It should be close to the body. Because if it's not close to the body, then what it means is you're trying to stretch to reach the keyboard.
And then you'll be straining the back.
Exactly. Oh, you're learning. And then you'll be straining the back, you'll be straining the neck. So that's very important. And another important thing is the chair that you're sitting down on. It's important that the chair has a good back support. And so if there's no good back support, you might need to get like a small pillow or like a folded towel.
Slow down.
Okay.
So people use chairs at work or wherever for different purposes. In my profession, we use it to present programs like this. They could be this way, and that one is for you, it's for guests. Then there are some that they use high stools in some other organizations for some other programs like that, right? So then there is one they use for news and all of those things. What are the common characteristics each of these chairs must have so as to protect the musculoskeletal health of anyone using them?
Okay, like I said, it should have a good back support.
Okay.
And that's why, most of the time, there's an aspect of physiotherapy or an aspect of health that's called ergonomics. So it's always good for even employers of labor to invite these people, to come assess the workstation generally, because they are actually experts in that. They'll look at the workstation, they will look at your job function and try to see how it can really, match.
So you're saying, my apologies, so you're saying now that every chair must have a back support?
Yes, a good back support.
But we have seats that don't come with back supports.
It's not good.
No stools, please.
Bar stools, they call them bar stools. They don't, do they? They don't?
They don't. Again, although we'll still get to that, hopefully, maybe if we need to sit for maybe a minute, 2 minutes, but if you have to stay on that kind of chair for hours, then
it's not the best.
It's not the best.
You still haven't shown us how to use the phone.
Okay, I think I was starting from the computer, and I'm going to like about 5 points. So I was on the third point. So the chair should have a good backrest, such that, so even if the chair doesn't have, you can get a small pillow or a folded towel and put it at the lower back. This where we have the natural curve of our back. Yeah. So we just put it there just to support the back. Is always very good. And also when using the laptop, it must be such that, like I said, the monitor at the high level, the keyboard close to the body, and our feet should be firmly on the floor. And the reason for this is because the way our lower body is, our legs takes about 1/3 thereabouts of our body weight. And so if it's dangling, what happens is it pulls the low back. Do you understand? And so even if the workstation is such that the legs cannot get to the floor, you can even get like a stool, a box or something, and just put the legs there to balance it up.
Okay. So your leg must always be angle 90?
Yes, you just reminded me of something. Then the knee should always be at the hip level.
Okay.
Yes, should be at the hip, because if it's higher than the hip, it's not good for the back.
Straining the back.
It's straining the back.
Oh. So here we go again. Wait, there's a question. So all those etiquette people that say you must sit with your legs crossed.
I mean, maybe because if you're not using computer for a long time, or you're not going to be there or for a long time or anything. But another thing is this. You shouldn't be in one position for a very long time. In fact,
define very long time.
Okay, 30-35 minutes.
Tops.
This one that you just did is aesthetics.
Okay. So Does this affect my health?
This one is shako.
Musculoskeletal.
This is shako.
I mean, generally speaking, no, but it shouldn't be there for
more than 30 minutes.
For a long time. So even in your program, I know you usually have short breaks. So like every 30 to 35 minutes, at least to prevent the muscles from being, to keep the muscles loose and all that, every 30 to 35 minutes, take a break, say hi to the cameraman, say hi to whoever, to the makeup artist, go to the toilet.
Or dance.
Take few steps, stretch, to keep the muscles loose.
Okay.
And all
so
that.
Is that the fourth or the fifth point?
I think
the phone.
The phone, exactly. I mean, especially the digital natives.
Take your pen and paper.
The digital natives, the Twitter warriors, everybody always like this, always like this. As much as possible, and I think I see this a whole lot, avoid using your phone this way. Oh, I know, and you start talking. Because with that, you are really putting a lot of strain on the neck.
So you cannot hold something and, hey, I'm listening.
And be cooking, and be doing, different things. No, you shouldn't do that. In fact, preferably, use a headset or a headphone.
Okay.
With that, I mean.
Or put it on speaker.
God bless you. Or put it on speaker. That's a good way of, making call. Then for testing, like we said, we are in the digital world. Everybody always typing. As much as possible, try to put the phone at your high level.
Okay. The civil war that you are trying to start now is this. So you're using your phone like this. Normally, as far as they are concerned, the normal human being will do like this. Once you do like this, you are using video, as far as some people are concerned.
I can imagine.
Yeah, you are recording me, and I don't want you to record me.
Yeah.
So help us understand.
I mean, that's what it is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Okay, but you wanted to demonstrate something the other time to us about standing up and walking.
Then before that, I wanted to talk about even testing. As much as possible to prevent overuse. Most of the time when we want to use the phone, when we are testing or when we want to swipe, we usually use our thumb. If possible, we can change it sometimes. Use the index finger, just to relieve some pressure on the thumb to prevent overuse injuries and all that.
Oh wow.
Yes. So.
Okay. Now, before you stand,
we'll
talk about so many others of these things in time to come. Is there a right way or wrong way to walk? Right way or wrong way to sleep? Right way or wrong way to lie down? Right way or wrong way to move our bodies?
Yes. So which one should I start from?
Walking.
Walking.
Yes.
Okay. Although most of the time, except maybe somebody has pain or has some issues with, I think, well, okay, don't let me say that. Some people actually slouch to walk, So one of the wrong ways of walking will be slouching. So as much as, can I stand?
Yes, please.
Okay. So as much as possible, everybody has to go to the military school when walking. So chest out, you like brace up, and then your chin in. You understand? So this is how you should. I mean, it shouldn't. I'm saying it might seem obvious because I'm trying to demonstrate it. Yeah. But when you're walking, not like it will be very obvious. Okay. But we shouldn't, walk in a slouch position. This way. It should be as much as possible. Stand erect.
So wait. Just to be clear. Okay. So it's wrong for me. It's wrong for me to say.
Guy.
Is that what you're saying? It's wrong for me to. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
we shouldn't walk like that.
There's no reason to.
No, now how are you going to show that you are,
You're a guy.
You just got back. You're a guy. But this slouching thing, you learn that right from primary school.
Yes.
You make some friends and they teach you all kinds of things, and you come home one day and then of course your parent, stand straight, my friend. Chin up, chest out.
Exactly, chin up.
Oh, those parents of those days, they didn't mess. They didn't mess.
Like you're not one of them. Anyway, so as we were saying, let's talk about the sleeping position.
The sleeping position. I mean, most people, everybody will agree with me that there has been at least one time in our lifetime where we just woke up and we have pain. Either somewhere, I'm like, maybe I slept, maybe you slept on your arm, because we slept in, in an awkward position. So some people like to sleep on their back, some like to sleep on their side, some like to sleep on their tummy. So if we want to sleep on our back, for example, it's always good to put like some pillows, maybe 1 or 2 pillows underneath the thigh and underneath the knee.
Oh.
Yes, just to maintain the normal curve of our spine, of our back.
Underneath the knees?
Yes, underneath the knees. Pillows, yes. And there should be 1 pillow at our upper back too. So between the shoulder blade and the back of the neck.
So not necessarily a pillow. The pillow is not necessarily for the head. Is that what you're saying? It's for between the...
You are supporting the neck, but you see, for example, again, the pillow shouldn't be too high. Because if the pillow is very high, you know the way these new pillows are, that it will be so high, it's not so good. Because when you use that, it puts the neck in a forward position, like it makes the neck bend. I don't know if you can try to. A very big pillow, when you use it, the neck will kind of come into this position. That's not so good.
Okay, that's for those who lay on their backs.
Who lay on their backs. So like the pillow should be like medium-sized, you know, and it should be between the shoulder blade and the back of the neck. So with that, you are supporting the neck properly.
Okay.
Do you understand? And then so once you can do that and can put some pillows underneath the knee, you're good.
Side.
Now, when you sleep on the side, you should try to put some pillows between the knees. Yes. So when you do that, you relieve pressure on the hip and you relieve pressure on the low back. Yes.
On the stomach.
Stomach is not so good to sleep on the stomach. It's not so good. There's going to be a lot of pressure. But if you need to, try to get some pillows maybe on the around the head, around the hip, then around the leg, you know. It's not so advisable, but if you need to, just make sure you're supporting, you know, yourselves with those pillows.
Quick trip to the back position. There are those who say it's always better to sleep on a particular side of the body. Is that?
Oh, no, I think you can, apart from the tummy, you can either the side or the back. Again, sometimes some people may have pain. Again, another thing is, it depends on what is comfortable for you. Some people will sleep in some way and it's not so comfortable for them because of one thing or the other. So at the end of the day, you have to listen to your body and knows what works for your body.
What would you advise for a pregnant woman?
That's a whole, like I said. A lecture. Like I said, different... people have different
strokes for different folks.
So at the end of the day, you need to actually find what really works for you. But for a pregnant woman, you need a lot of pillows to release. So because when a person is pregnant, the way there is like a
protrusion.
A protrusion. That protrusion, is straining naturally. Straining the back already. So that's why you see a lot of pregnant women come down with back pain, hip pain, and different pain in the joints. Apart from even the fact apart from that protrusion, because when you're pregnant, there are some kind of hormones that are really flowing through the body that makes the ligaments really, really, we call it lax, but just for the sake of the general population, that makes the ligament soft. And the ligament is supposed to be the one supporting the joints of the body. And so when the ligament is already soft, you are predisposed to a lot of pain, a lot of injury. So at that stage, one needs to be very careful. So if they need to sleep, they need to use a lot of pillows, like I said, between the knees, supporting the head and all sorts. And they just find a comfortable position for them. Yes.
We've run out of time already.
Oh, no. This is part one. Because, it's like, what the scriptures, the Christian scriptures say. If the foundation is destroyed, what can the righteous do? And am I correct to say that the bones are the foundation of the body?
Yes.
Support.
So... Dr.
They hold the body.
Dr. Desola Laoluakinla, we have to thank you very much for this time. And just to let you know, this is part one. Okay. We're coming back for more. Okay. Dr. Desola Laoluakinla is a physiotherapist. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Okay. What is the correct way to laugh? I don't know if that's a thing. We'll talk about that and more when we return for our home stretch. Stay with us.
Testing. Yes, yes. One of them people is here. Remember our DSS when I said all the mad people in Lagos were in our studio on that day? Well, there was one that narrowly missed it.
Yes.
He's here today.
Yes.
His name is, everybody calls him Frank Donga. But his real name, which I found out only today myself, is actually Kunle. Hello, Kunle. Good morning, and thank you for joining. I didn't know your name was Kunle.
Even me, ma. Though later they informed me. That's when I look at my birth certificate. So that time we could do.
Your birth what?
Certificate.
Birth certificate. Where did Frank Donga come from?
Now, everything comes from God. It's only God. Only God can. God did it. Yes.
Don't look at me. He's your guest.
Let's just look forward. Don't look at it. Don't look at any man. Because no man can give any man hope. It's just look forward and believe in yourself. That's it, man.
By the way, this man has a bachelor's degree in agriculture and has a master's degree in genetics.
Ma?
Did you miss road?
When bike stopped me in front of the junction, and I said that they can employ me here. So I just say, okay, let me stand by in case anything.
What were you doing studying agriculture?
Okay, I've always loved
you came back home.
life sciences. I'm a big fan of nature.
Oh.
I grew up watching.
Excuse me, Nat Geo?
Yes, Nat Geo. Wild World of Animals. David Attenborough. Sir David Attenborough is a
Sir David Attenborough.
So I've always loved animals since I was a little kid, and I've always been fascinated by the dynamics of creation and reproduction.
Oh.
And life itself. So that spurred me. And also I pretty much very early on in my childhood understood the necessity for a qualitative agriculture and planning.
You mean Frank Donga can be serious?
No, it's not Frank Donga talking about.
Oh, this is Kunle. Okay, right.
I don't used to know that is back and forth.
No, please. Kunle.
Yes, ma'am.
You were explaining yourself earlier.
Yes,
what you were doing in agriculture and then genetics.
Oh yes, like I said, I've always been intrigued by the dynamics of hereditary traits and transfer of attributes from parent to offspring, which is essentially what genetics is all about. You know, everything from your mannerisms, your tendencies, your abilities, physical attributes from parent to offspring and down the generations, and how those things interplay with the DNA.
So how did Kunle genetically infect Frank Donga or vice versa?
To be honest, genetically speaking, I think I got a whole dose of it from both parents of mine. My father is, first of all, I was born and raised in the city of Ibadan. And if you know anything about the Ibadan people, they're very heavy on sarcasm. And my father is also a biologist, educationist by training, by career. My mother, same. So I was raised in a household of teachers. Yeah, and reading and passing exams. So I think you had to. There's no way out. So my father is very heavy on sarcasm, and my mother is very gifted with that poker face. Yes, growing up, most kids around the period and the place where I grew up will be familiar with expressions where if a parent sent you to fetch water from the well or from the tap and you had it on your head or you were holding the bucket in your hands and you dared ask them, where should I put it? The most probable response would be,
Melody.
Yeah, right on my head. And then, God bless your beautiful soul if you actually carry out that action. Yeah, if you take that advice. So very, very early on, you would then have to learn to decipher what kind of advice you should take and the one you should not. So it was a very tricky line to toe as a child between reality and sarcasm. And I guess that kind of formed my, alter ego.
It's also interesting that, many people watching now, seeing Frank Donga for the first time, would not know that you were a broadcaster.
Oh, yes, I had a stint at journalism. I still very much believe I am one. Always a journalist, once a journalist, always a journalist. So the training, I was trained by a team led by the former vice president of CNN, Ken Tivin, and, a whole bunch of fantastic colleagues of mine who are some of your colleagues also on this channel. So
one of which is your spouse as well.
Okay. I'm a friend of the house, and so very much so, and and that kind of helped me in my comedy sketches. I do a lot of comedy sketches. I've been doing it for about a decade now. Do a lot of social commentary, political satires, and it has helped me to stay out of trouble because I know the boundaries.
Frank, that little skit that we showed at the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm interested in knowing who paid for that food.
What happened a few moments
Because
later?
I know that you didn't have any money.
No.
The reason why you ordered
it was
water.
not him. It's Frank.
Oh, so, Frank. Did I say? Yeah, I said Frank.
Yeah, he's Ikunle.
You know that many times, food do come, food do go. It's only the strong that can remain.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Who paid for the food?
God did.
Because I saw the guy run away.
So we actually have some problem. We have one or two problems after that. But, I'm grateful that at least, washing plate is allowed. So at times,
because you gladly ordered snail and everything, believing that the other guy was going to pay, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but he didn't. He said order. And you were ordering things that he didn't. Well, Frank was ordering things he didn't order.
I obeyed the last order.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That's all.
Okay. So now, this. Okay, let me talk to Frank Donga. You have been looking for a job for how long now?
Many times. A long time ago. Since yesteryears.
Since yesteryears?
Yes, sir.
So how many job interviews have you gone for?
It's plentiful, sir. If you say it counts now, it's like the birthday of a country, or their country. It's even surpass the birthday of their country.
Oh, the birthday?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The birthday.
Oh, that's the day they bet the country.
The day they bet the country.
Yes, sir. Birthday.
Okay. So, you okay? Let's see this one.
Oh, this is another one.
You're here for the marketing executive job, right?
Yes, ma'am. This is no. It's an executive marketing job. That's what they write on the adverts that
You mean marketing executive?
As long as there's executive there, because that executive is the main issue, you understand? Because that marketing is what I really base on, and they know me. All my clients around the world, they know me.
Can I have your resume?
They didn't say we should bring it. It's only CV that they say we should bring it.
Can I have your CV? What is this?
Water.
Sorry?
No, as in, it's water, because I wash COVID come out from my hand outside. You understand?
It says toilet washing, Monday to Wednesday, Mr. Bayo.
I make mistake. That's our roaster, our toilet roaster in our compound.
Let's focus now.
Okay, so if you want more of Frank Donga, please, you can see his handle. Go and look for it. So, what kind of job do you want? You said when you came in, you said you were looking for a job and you just came here.
Yes, as a great Nigerian youth, any job for a professional person, because even I usually look me now, I package myself because I already tell our neighbor that he's bought me a spectacle, the cap. Then it's me that I can wash this cloth. But as it dry, I want to test it to make sure the cloth is very strong as I wash it. So I said, let me test it to the studio. That's why I complete the package like this. So as I'm complete like any job you can offer me, anything, even if it's maybe a commissioner, minister, or president.
But that one, you were asking for a marketing job.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma. I even market plenty things. Even the country, I used to market the country. But they didn't see anybody at that time.
Okay, so Frank Donga is looking for a job as a marketing executive. Yes. What did Frank Donga study to make him apply for that kind of job?
So, at time, you go to school to understand things, but then you go to street to know your way. So that's the most important, street knowledge.
So that you are a graduate of the street?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
What's the name of of your degree?
BSc Professional. So even though you are a professional, you don't know it. If you ask for that certificate, they don't used to tell us in school, because even you, sir, with due respect, I believe that as you read book in school, sir, there's two certificates that they're supposed to give you. That's the main one. Then that one, if you don't ask for it, the VC will not give you. That's the BSc Professional. They don't used to write it unless you go to the admin and you tell them that I know my right, then they will give you. That's the second one that I'm using. I'm not even using the main one.
Which was the main one?
BSc Professional.
Okay, what is the second one you're using?
Professional studies. That's professional study.
BSc Professional
I see that
studies.
you're also trying to diversify in that skit you did with Mr. Macaroni. You are trying to diversify into other businesses. What kind of business is that one?
No, sir. That's multi-story marketing.
Eh?
That's
multi-story.
Yeah, extra level marketing.
Multi-level.
Yeah, that's what I just said now. If you understand
network
well.
marketing.
Multi-level marketing.
Yeah, that network, we put it at the back so that you can know who you are with. Because in this country now, if you know that those three things, multi, them, marketing, and level, those three things, combine them, the sky cannot be your limit again. That's like you will not be working with Elon Musk. That's in the people like Elon Musk. That's in space level.
So what's the entry level?
Entry level
for that multi-story?
No, so what the thing is, you come to people like us, you pay small money, and we take you through 10 classes.
How much is where is the aspiration? You're going to
We have to be a billionaire.
Billionaire.
Yeah, but to be a billionaire, you have to reason like one.
Okay.
So the thing is that you have to know person. Okay. That's me. That's you.
To be a millionaire, think like a millionaire.
Exactly, man. You already attend one class. No. That's the first class. Okay, no. Okay. Promo class. That's the promo class. That's the one we tell you. But when you not join people like us now, you bring such small money.
How much is this small money?
18.5. That's 18,500,000.
18 million.
That 500 is registration. It's not. We're not collecting it from you. It's you that will register by yourself. Then you pay the money. We won't collect it from you.
What about the 18 million?
That's for the course material.
But you join a WhatsApp group.
Yes, man. Once you join that thing, the rest is finished.
You pay 18 million and you now join WhatsApp group.
Yes, man. But in nothing less than 18 months, you make your first million.
18. You make your first million? After paying 18 million, you make your first million after?
18 months.
Okay, let's talk to the business of comedy. God. You know,
this boy is sick.
More and more. Please recover.
It's not easy, man. 18 million is not.
This boy is sick.
18 million what?
It's not jokes, sir. Because that's small money to make 1 million in 18 months. It will, even you're not shaking you, but you don't want to. You are just a strong man. But don't worry, sir. I will connect you. You can pay instrumentally.
How much?
It depends. How much do you have now? Anything you have now. If you have the 2.5, then you bring it now. Then I'll write your first name. Then later you balance. I'll put your middle name. Then when you complete, I'll put your last name. You are saying?
Oh God.
Yes, I wanted to talk about the business of skit making.
God.
So Mr. Kunle-Edu, please.
Okay, Kunle-Edu.
Yeah. Okay. The posture immediately changes.
So
right.
To the more and more people are making, well, it's employment for some people, and they're doing well at it. But there are those who are wondering, how do they get to the point where corporations can begin to invite them to do some of these skits for them? You know,
it's a very simple thing. It's like the sugar and the ant. The ants always go where the sugar is. I mean, any advertiser or anybody who wants to publicize, especially online, where the community for most of these short comedy clips are, would look for people with that number, the following, you know. And it's
is it just the following, or sometimes even the niche?
One after the other. It's first of all the numbers before the niche. So most people will generally go for numbers. I mean, although over time, discerning advertisers are beginning to see that there's more to advertising with comedy than just the numbers. That's beginning to change over the years. But the first thing they look for is the numbers, then they go for the demographics, and then, you know, the age range and all the analytics. If you can provide that, it helps. If they also can find that out, it helps.
Quickly, how did you get into comedy from agriculture?
Serendipity. Providence.
Sorry?
Providence, serendipity, fate, call it whatever you want to call it. I didn't come because I wanted to be a comedian or be funny or be famous. I just did it to express myself. Because the first comedy sketches I did, the first few ones are about unemployment. I'm very big on unemployment because I believe so strongly in the youths of Nigeria. And I believe there's more that needs to be done to create jobs for the teeming youth. And that was why I did it, to communicate that people should prepare better for job interviews. And that's why the first few set of skits I did were around job interviews. That could be found on YouTube and around, you know, social media. And that was how I started. And that was what got me into it. And the next thing I knew, the videos were viral, were everywhere. That was about a decade ago. And the next thing I was getting phone calls to come and feature on the big screen and the silver screen.
But when you featured on that mathematics competition...
Oh, God.
Yeah, that was... I love... So I self-identify as an edutainer. So I love anything around education and entertainment, or using entertainment to educate. or educating while entertaining. So it was a clip I found on the internet. I found it very funny, and enlightening, because young kids were answering mathematical questions, and I was very impressed, and I told you I come from a background of, educationists. So yes, I was attracted to that. I did a few special effect tricks, green screen, chroma keying, rotoscoping, put myself in the clip, and boom, did some reaction to it to make me look like that uncle who didn't know as much as the kids. And it was, went fine.
And it sold.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that...
Then I got the attention of the brand, and we became friends for a while. Yeah.
For a while.
That friendship. But that's not to say that the challenges of academics doesn't remain with these young people. In the packaging of their... Okay, we are out of time. Oh, we could continue this conversation, but unfortunately we're running out of time. But if you can deal with that in 30 seconds. The academics, is it structured, in your opinion, to achieve desired result in people's lives, in the young people's lives?
No, that's a simple answer. And in 20, 30 seconds, what I'll say is we can't discuss academics in the country without talking about the educational system. We can't discuss the educational system without discussing the funding for the educational system and the motivation for the teachers who are responsible for passing on knowledge. So there has to be a concerted effort. There has to be a strong political will and a social will from the leadership and the followership to, put the proper funding in school, get the teachers motivated, and put the equipment and the books necessary, and reward system, jobs.
Okay. So, Frank Donga,
yes, sir.
What would you advise? Look into that camera and advise people who are looking for...
Surpass the birthday of their country.
Oh, the birthday?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The
birthday.
Oh, that's the day they bet the country.
The day they bet the country.
Yes, sir. Birthday.
Okay. So, you okay? Let's see this one.
Oh, this is another one.
You're here for the marketing executive job, right?
Yes, ma'am. This is no. It's an executive marketing job. That's what they write on the adverts that
You mean marketing executive?
As long as there's executive there, because that executive is the main issue, you understand? Because that marketing is what I really base on, and they know me. All my clients around the world, they know me.
Can I have your resume?
They didn't say we should bring it. It's only CV that they say we should bring it.
Can I have your CV? What is this?
Water.
Sorry?
No, as in, it's water, because I wash COVID come out from my hand outside. You understand?
It says toilet washing, Monday to Wednesday, Mr. Bayo.
I make mistake. That's our roaster, our toilet roaster in our compound.
Then let's focus now.
Okay, so if you want more of Frank Donga, please, you can see his handle. Go and look for it. So what kind of job do you want? You said when you came in, you said you were looking for a job and you just came here.
Yes, as a great Nigerian youth, any job for a professional person, because even I usually look me now, I package myself because I already tell our neighbor that he's bought me a spectacle, the cap. Then it's me that I can wash this cloth. But as it dry, I want to test it to make sure the cloth is very strong as I wash it. So I said, let me test it to the studio. That's why I complete the package like this. So as I'm complete like any job you can offer me, anything, even if it's maybe a commissioner, minister, or president.
But that one, you were asking for a marketing job.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma. I will market plenty things. Even the country, I used to market the country. But they didn't see anybody at that time.
Okay, so Frank Donga is looking for a job as a marketing executive. Yes. What did Frank Donga study to make him apply for that kind of job?
So, in that time, you go to school to understand things, but then you go to street to know your way. So that's the most important, street knowledge.
So that you are a graduate of the street?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
What's the name of of your degree?
BSc Professional.
BSc Professional.
So even though you are a professional, you don't know it. If you ask for that certificate, it's nobody. They don't used to tell us in school, because even you, sir, with due respect, I believe that as you read book in school, sir, there's two certificates that they're supposed to give you. That's the main one. Then that one, if you don't ask for it, the VC will not give you. That's the best professional. They don't used to write it unless you go to the admin and you tell them that I know my right, then they will give you. That's the second one that I'm using. I'm not even using the main one.
Which was the main one?
BSc Professional.
Okay, what is the second one you're using?
Professional Studies. That's Professional Study.
BSc Professional
I see that
studies.
you're also trying to diversify in that skit you did with Mr. Macaroni. You are trying to diversify into other businesses. What kind of business is that one?
No, sir. That's multi-story marketing.
Eh?
That's
multi-story.
Yeah, extra level marketing.
Multi-level.
Yeah, that's what I just said now. If you understand
network
well.
marketing.
Multi-level marketing.
Yeah, that network, we put it at the back so that you can know who you are with. Because in this country now, if you know that those three things, multi, them, marketing, and level, those three things, combine them, the sky cannot be your limit again. That's like you will not be working with Elon Musk. That's in the people like Elon Musk. That's in space level.
So what's the entry level?
Entry level
for that multi-story?
No, so what the thing is, you come to people like us, you pay small money, and we take you through 10 classes.
How much is where is the aspiration? You're going to
We have to be a billionaire.
Billionaire.
Yeah, but to be a billionaire, you have to reason like one.
Okay.
So the thing is that you have to know person. Okay. That's me. That's you.
To be a millionaire, think like a millionaire.
Exactly, man. You already attend one class. No. That's the first class. Okay, no. Okay. Promo class. That's the promo class. That's the one we tell you. But when you not join people like us now, you bring such small money.
How much is this small money?
18.5. That's 18,500,000.
18 million.
That 500 is registration. It's not. We're not collecting it from you. It's you that will register by yourself. Then you pay the money. We won't collect it from you.
What about the 18 million?
That's for the course material.
But you join a WhatsApp group.
Yes, man. Once you join that thing, the rest is finished.
You pay 18 million and you now join WhatsApp group.
Yes, man. But in nothing less than 18 months, you make your first million.
18. You make your first million? After paying 18 million, you make your first million after?
18 months.
Okay, let's talk to the business of comedy. God. You know,
this boy is sick.
More and more. Please recover.
It's not easy, man. 18 million is not.
This boy is sick.
18 million what?
It's not jokes, sir. Because that's small money to make 1 million in 18 months. It will, even you're not shaking you, but you don't want to. You are just a strong man. But don't worry, sir. I will connect you. You can pay instrumentally.
How much?
It depends. How much do you have now? Anything you have now. If you have the 2.5, then you bring it now. Then I'll write your first name. Then later you balance. I'll put your middle name. Then when you complete, I'll put your last name. You are saying?
Oh God.
Yes, I wanted to talk about the business of skit making.
God.
So Mr. Kunle-Edu, please.
Okay, Kunle-Edu.
Yeah. Okay. The posture immediately changes.
So
right.
To the more and more people are making, well, it's employment for some people, and they're doing well at it. But there are those who are wondering, how do they get to the point where corporations can begin to invite them to do some of these skits for them? You know,
it's a very simple thing. It's like the sugar and the ant. The ants always go where the sugar is. I mean, any advertiser or anybody who wants to publicize, especially online, where the community for most of these short comedy clips are, would look for people with that number, the following, you know. And it's
is it just the following, or sometimes even the niche?
One after the other. It's first of all the numbers before the niche. So most people will generally go for numbers. I mean, although over time, discerning advertisers are beginning to see that there's more to advertising with comedy than just the numbers. That's beginning to change over the years. But the first thing they look for is the numbers, then they go for the demographics, and then, you know, the age range and all the analytics. If you can provide that, it helps. If they also can find that out, it helps.
Quickly, how did you get into comedy from agriculture?
Serendipity. Providence.
Sorry?
Providence, serendipity, fate, call it whatever you want to call it. I didn't come because I wanted to be a comedian or be funny or be famous. I just did it to express myself. Because the first comedy sketches I did, the first few ones are about unemployment. I'm very big on unemployment because I believe so strongly in the youths of Nigeria. And I believe there's more that needs to be done to create jobs for the teeming youth. And that was why I did it, to communicate that people should prepare better for job interviews. And that's why the first few set of skits I did were around job interviews. That could be found on YouTube and around, you know, social media. And that was how I started. And that was what got me into it. And the next thing I knew, the videos were viral, were everywhere. That was about a decade ago. And the next thing I was getting phone calls to come and feature on the big screen and the silver screen.
But when you featured on that mathematics competition...
Oh, God.
Yeah, that was... I love... So I self-identify as an edutainer. So I love anything around education and entertainment, or using entertainment to educate, or educating while entertaining. So it was a clip I found on the internet. I found it very funny, and enlightening, because young kids were answering mathematical questions, and I was very impressed, and I told you I come from a background of, educationist. So yes, I was attracted to that. I did a few special effect tricks, green screen, chroma keying, rotoscoping, put myself in the clip, and boom, did some reaction to it to make me look like that uncle who didn't know as much as the kids. And it was, went fine.
And it sold.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that...
Then I got the attention of the brand, and we became friends for a while. Yeah.
For a while.
That friendship. But that's not to say that the challenges of academics doesn't remain with these young people. In the packaging of their... Okay, we are out of time. Oh, we could continue this conversation, but unfortunately we're running out of time. But if you can deal with that in 30 seconds. The academics, is it structured, in your opinion, to achieve desired result in people's lives, in the young people's lives?
No, that's a simple answer. And in 20, 30 seconds, what I'll say is, we can't discuss academics in the country without talking about the educational system. We can't discuss the educational system without discussing the funding for the educational system and the motivation for the teachers who are responsible for passing on knowledge. So there has to be a concerted effort. There has to be a strong political will and a social will from the leadership and the followership to, put the proper funding in school, get the teachers motivated, and put the equipment and the books necessary, and reward system, jobs.
Okay. So, Frank Donga, yes, sir. What would you advise? Look into that camera and advise people who are looking for work like you.
If you're out there, you're looking for a job, the first thing you need to do is, what problem can I solve? Meaning, what do you know? What skills do you have?
No, if you don't have Frank Donga, I'm not talking to Ledo.
We're going there.
Okay.
What skills do you have? What knowledge do you have? Then after that, say you have confidence. If you don't have confidence, that means one of the two things I already explained is lack. It's lack in your system. Either you lack vitamin conscience or you lack vitamin ski. Go and get it first. You don't have the vitamin of ski. You don't have the vitamin of knowledge. You can't solve any problem. Who will employ you? Say you will employ yourself. Ask. If you can't solve any problem, who is going to pay you? Ask yourself, what skill do I have? What knowledge do I have? When you are teaching class, why are you pressing phone? Why are you scaling fence? Now that you are an adult person, which problem can you solve? It's not only to Japa. If you Japa to where they Japa into, they are solving problem there. Why are you adding to the economic? Even here, are you adding anything to the economic?
To the economic.
A land from will make honey. If they give the milk, say you know how to take it. Just waste the milk, waste the honey. So that's the thing. Arrange skill for yourself. Arrange knowledge for yourself. School is not scam. Solve a problem. Learn how to solve a problem. Look around you. What problem can I solve? If you can sort that one, finish.
Conledo, actor, comedian. His real name. I mean, his name that you all know is Frank. The man is confusing me. Frank Donga. I'm sure you've seen him in some big movies. Forming the Fool, of course.
And that music video, Kabisi.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, ma'am.
I now know your name. Your name is Kunle, not Frank Donga.
That's what I saw on my birth certificate.
That's so. Frank Donga wraps up Sunrise for us this morning. Thank you very much for sharing your Saturday morning with us. We hope to bring you a fresh and interesting edition next Saturday. Join us. I'm Naira.
Don't forget, the elections is in 2 weeks. I'm Makinde. Have a wonderful rest of your day.